Good morning and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined today by the Astropub, aka Paul Shelley, and the old man Heston himself, Algared. Algared, why are you looking off to one side? Is there something really interesting over there that we need to see?
Yeah.
Yes. Just the secret is, and the key is to always make it so that your camera, whenever the place you normally look when you're streaming, it looks like you're looking at the screen. That way, like right now, I'm looking at Execute. I am looking at Execute, but it looks like I'm looking at Execute.
It doesn't help that Algared's screen is like this wide, so that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Just shit over. All right. Okay, so today we're going to be doing your questions because there's no damn IC.
Welcome to the dark ages, the dark times of Star Citizen content.
Yes. Yes, true.
Absolutely.
Yes, Al.
I do have, the YouTube and Twitch on the screen that's being shared, but it's so small, and I'm old, so I need big print.
Need magnifying glass or something like that for you.
That's right.
We snappers.
Now, Execute, you shouldn't be picking on Algared like that. That's a very nasty thing to be doing.
It's now got really weird where he's talking to himself about himself.
Listen,
now Execute. I'm talking to you. Now, no, I'm not talking to Algared. I'm talking to you, and you just got to watch yourself.
He's talking about himself with himself. This is.
Listen. You have to understand. We as teachers, we go through phases, and this is just the normal phase of trying to convince yourself that you're not going crazy, that you actually like to do what you're doing, and all the paperwork is worth it.
and
oh dear.
And when you're teaching, you are talking to yourself 90% of the time.
Yeah, because no one's listening to you.
So I guess I'll address the elephant in the room because there's a few people asking already. I'm leaving to go on holiday I'm going to spend a day with Algared, Sunday, Australian time, so that'll be Saturday in the up over. And then Monday morning, I head off to the Philippines for a month. And while I'm gone, Paul's going to pick up the reins and stream with Algared. I'm probably going to come back and the house will be on fire, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Oh, it'll definitely be on fire because I'll forget everything. Yeah. So
we'll fumble through. We'll get there. It'll be right.
But we've got enough pre-recorded shows that if you guys, as long as you guys do one, I think we're pretty much good.
I think we're good even if we don't do one.
Actually, I think you are. Yeah, actually, no, you are. I've done enough pre-recorded shows to back you up the whole time. So there are. I've scheduled all the shows.
You're saying streaming. As long as we do one stream.
No, I don't even think you have to do streams. There's enough fix my fleets and spares there that you could just turn them on if you don't want to do a stream. And I've showed Algared how to turn them on.
Paul's like, damn it! I've spent time getting stuff ready.
We're gonna stream since we're gonna turn this into a Starfield podcast while X is gone. It'll just be us talking about Starfield for 3 weeks.
You'll be saying how good it is, and I'll be bagging it. Right? Okay, cool.
Exactly. Yeah, it'll be like good cop, bad cop with Starfield. So
my Star Citizen White Knight will come out. I think. I think against Starfield, I'm probably a White Knight.
I think the other thing we need to talk about too, Paul, we didn't get a chance to catch you up with this, but there was a single line of code leaked today.
I saw.
On SRV.
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw that?
My Discord told me about it, which I think is. I'm at this point. I'm just like, this got to be just a troll. This can't be real. Like CIG's doing this now. I don't believe anything that comes out of Argo. Argo is their troll. Release.
It's low hanging fruit, man. It's that year for it. Like a small little variant for a ship that they know is really popular. I see that 100%. But Algared got real panicky at one point. Algared, I'll let you speak for yourself. But yeah, go ahead.
My view is Maelstrom sounds like a storm. Sounds like a combat
fury.
And if they make it into a combat ship, they f***ing up themselves. I'm triggered. I'm triggered.
Yeah, so triggered. Just to put people in perspective, the line of code was Argo MPV Maelstrom was the name of the code.
Oh, so it's MPV.
MPUV.
Oh, MPUV, not MPV. Right.
Yeah.
And so basically, as Algared said, it's potentially a combat variant. The only other variant that I think that it might line up with, Paul, and me and Algared talked about this very briefly, but there used to be a salvage repair variant. And if it's like an arc welder bit, like sparks and stuff, maybe that could be the Maelstrom part. But I don't know.
I could see it being the search and rescue as well, going into the storm.
Maelstrom. Yeah, going into the storm, Maelstrom. That would be another way of doing it.
But
weathering the storm. Yeah.
The only variants I can recall we actually knew for certain that had been talked about. One was a big one that could take cargo pods, like the big pods. One was the little cargo one we've got. One was a personnel. One was a search and rescue. One was repair. So there's 5 variants I think have been kind of bandied around, but we've only got 2 of them. And generally,
just really quick, Dawnstill is saying the LX was also in the jump point. LX, if you look at it's now Mirai, so the Razor is now Mirai, and you've got the Fury LX and the Razor LX. The Razor LX is a racing variant. Highly likely that it is a racing variant of the Fury. It's pretty simple math, that one. I don't think anyone will be surprised when that comes out and it's a racing variant. Yep. It's pretty cut and dry.
And the only other one we've seen LX use was the Auroras, and that is the luxury version, which is again the better. A leather seat.
Oof, not a leather seat. Don't scare us.
It's also got a bigger missile hardpoint as well.
Yeah.
I think the weapons might be slightly bigger as well.
So many people jumped the gun and said a luxury variant of the Fury. I'm like, what is there to make more luxurious? Cup holders? Like, what do you add to the Fury to make it how do you do that?
High grade components.
Yeah, it's got a fairy dice, Paul, that just hangs there.
I love those. That means it's got to be a racing variant. That's the only if you have fuzzy dice, it has to be a racing variant. That's the rule. Yep. I don't make up the rules.
Yeah.
And it'll be red.
Yeah, and yes. I reckon a racing variant would be pretty cool, and I'd assume that it does something akin to gives up its weapons to get better turning and thrusters and stuff like that, because that's the one thing the Fury doesn't do too well. It skids a bit.
You ask yourself, what was the design? How did they sell the idea of Mirai? Mirai is their high-performance racing branch of MISC, and so far, they don't have a racing ship apart from the ships that have been pulled into, like the Razor, but have been pulled into Mirai. So it makes sense.
All right, good job, Don Stella. You changed the stuff. So let's go back to the MPUV for a minute. Is there anything else there that you want to add? Actually, just to wrap that up, I'm just crossing my T's, dotting my I's. But so as far as I'm aware, I don't think it's really going to be anything groundbreaking, as in that we haven't kind of seen already. It's just one of those that we've seen coming to fruition. Would you kind of guys agree with that? Because everything we've mentioned, we've seen in lore posts, or it's been talked about, or there's nothing. No, I kind of put that back to chat as well. Like, is there like, because the only other thing it would be is something outside the norm. So yeah,
it'll be a $60 lot. What was it?
$60.
$55. Well, it's like
it's 35.40, isn't it? Oh no! I'm not talking about the Fury. I'm talking about the Argo MPUV. So that's the
MPUV.
Yeah, so it'd be like I'd expect
that'll be $5 more.
So it's 35.40. So I'm expecting that it would be it'd be 45 then, which makes it the same price as the Aurora.
And the Fury will be another $5 because it's luxury. So 2 LTI tokens is what we've got coming. There you go.
You don't reckon they'll make it the same price as the other 2 Furies because it's really just the same? You reckon they'll make it $5 more?
I think they'll make it more money. Almost certainly increase it, just because CIG loves to just add more prices onto combat ships. If it's a combat variant, then or even roll.
So the other thing that broke that was the Antares. That was the first time it was a downgrade and it was lower. First time we'd ever seen that before. So
but we now have lost guns. That was the point. Is it lost its guns? And
you're losing guns on a racing variant, are you not?
Oh, are we talking about the MPUV or the Fury?
I'm talking about both because we've been jumping all over the fucking place like madmen.
I don't think the Fury. I could see it being at the same price or lower, depending on what they add, what else they add to it. But anything that has to, like the MPUV, is going to be more expensive. Whatever the MPUV variant is going to be more expensive. Yep. Just because if it's a search and rescue variant, you're paying for the medical, like a medical bay. If it's a
repair variant,
you're paying for the Yeah. If it's a search, or if it's a combat variant, you're paying for the weapons. It's always going to be more expensive than the ones we have right now, which are the bare bones basic ones. So
in a weird twist of fate, Algared, Paul gets his smaller repair ship. That he's been
yay!
So for a long time, Paul, me, and Algared would argue over the Vulture being the smallest repair ship in the game. What did I say? Vulture. I meant.
He said Vulture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know
Vulture.
what you meant, but if we don't correct each other when we do that, people say, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about."
100%. So yeah, but that is it's technically on a medium pad, so there is definitely room for a ship.
And
in that size.
And we never disagreed, Paul, in terms of size of a ship, meaning there could be one smaller. We always argued that they said this is a ship to start the profession in to repair.
And my argument has always been CIG says a lot of shit that's wrong all the time that just change. So if it makes sense, and that's my point, like my point with like the ferry, the idea of having a Ro-Ro ferry in the game, which to a degree is Legionnaire or the Legionnaire, the Liberator, but we'll probably see something else like that, is that there's what CIG wants to do and then what the realities of the game they're developing is.
Yep.
And like the realities of the game they're developing, they're going to want a small pair ship or rearm ship or refuel ship just because they want to there'll be people who want to get into that profession, and it's not everyone can have a Starfarer. So
yeah. Hey, Sergeant. And we also need that, there's that even just having an MPUV, to go back to the MPV, that can move the 32 SU cargo containers, just one at a time. There's a role for that to be filled. So every ship could actually fill those different they get forward. So yeah.
All right, the bot is up and running, but we have here come the questions. We've got 4 questions so far. So yeah, if you want to get the way this works is the stream ends when the questions end. So get your questions in if you want them answered. Yeah, any questions or thoughts or statements too. So if you want to let us know your thoughts on the Maelstrom or the LX or anything else for that matter, feel free to just type question, but then say statement or something like that.
Yep.
And that's
there is I think the biggest value of a small variant of either of those ships is the fact that it's an LTI token for people who are looking for LTI tokens.
Absolutely. I reckon definitely. Well, here's the question. Let's put it back to you then. The LX and the Maelstrom, when would is one CitizenCon and one's
both CitizenCon.
Both at CitizenCon. Okay.
I'd say so. Because
you don't think there's a
320, whichever.
You don't think there's a best in show thing there going on with the MPUV?
No. Because here's the reality. Here's the reality. I think all of these small ships are coming out because CIG just hired a ton of ship artists. They basically replaced all of Paul Jones's crew who left, and we know that they built a brand new ship team in Montreal this year. So, and they're already working on 2 ships. So one of them being variants of 2 ships, and one of them being they're both of them being Argo MPUVs in some way, shape, or form. Tracks. That tracks pretty hard, especially with them saying that they've tackled the technical problems of modularity, and that's really the thing that the MPUV really shines in. And CIG, the challenge for CIG not to sell a variant of a ship that's already popular, impossible. They'll find ways of inventing things to do that. So.
And you've also got to remember that in their ship roundtable, they talked about when you've got new people training, you don't chuck them in on the big ships, you give them small ships to do. So, hence,
what about
we're going to see a plethora of those small ships.
You don't think it's got to do with them really working on Squadron 42 and getting it all polished off and ready to go? Because that's how I see it. Is in the more people that they can have on board on that, they've got less people to work on the ship. So basically they just had very few people working on the ship so they can get a few smaller ones out. Look at Invictus. That's the worst sale we've had. You just go look at it, you can see it's just like this. It's like in a stock exchange, it's been going up and then all of a sudden it just goes
but execute, why not both?
Yeah.
Why isn't it both? Because
you're not going to
put brand new meat. You're not going to put in fresh meat, the brand new artists and designers to the kid you're about to release. That's not a good way of doing things. You'll take your veteran designers and have them go do that one, and have the fresh guys work on something. And you got to have something for the PU. So why not?
True. True.
Yep. And
Go ahead,
I
Al,
think
sorry.
when you look at the comments about, we know Paul Jones left, we know that other artists have left. We've got a whole pile of artists. You start them on the small stuff. I even said that, and so that ties in with why we had small ships at Invictus. It ties why they're doing a lot of small ships at the moment. But I think the challenge for them will be do small ships or small things that aren't just combat, because we seem to have a plethora of those combat small fighters anyway. So, but yeah, I think that's why we're seeing the small stuff as well.
I am hearing rumors about a big ship for CitizenCon though. That's a concept. I don't know if you guys have heard words to that effect, but I'll believe it when I see it as usual. But that's what I'm hearing. It's the same rumor that crops up every year about the Anvil capital. I've been hearing that too, but I have specifically been hearing that there's a capital, like Polaris Kraken type size of ship.
I've given up on waiting for an Anvil capital.
I think man, if anything, like, I know these guys that are listening haven't seen what we talked about yesterday, but that ground support ship idea that came out of that episode we were talking about, I want that now so badly. The more I've sat and thought on it, the more awesome it sounds. And yeah, so there's an episode we've recorded. You'll see it eventually, I'm sure, at some point. Unless
we re-record it, because we were kind of all over the map for it.
We were, but it did bear an interesting concept. And so the episode was can we fix it on the Redeemer, because it's obviously Paul's favorite ship and we wanted to make it better. But when we were talking about it, something that came out was this ship that was just this ground support ship, and it came from re-jerry-rigging the Redeemer, and it sounds awesome. We'll talk about it eventually, I'm sure, or we can talk about it now if you really. But I
don't know if we talk about it now, then people don't need to watch the episode. People on tenterhooks.
Well, it's got that in it, but it's also got the stuff on the Redeemer as well. But yeah, it's just an interesting concept, and I really think that was my takeaway from the actual episode, was that don't really need to change the Redeemer, but there's definitely room for another ship that would. Well, you guys both had the same issue with it, didn't you? Essentially. And I was like, no, I want to keep that multi-role thing. So it was like, well, leave my Redeemer alone and go make a whole nother one. And I think that works. So yeah. Yes, thank you, Nova. Captain Obvious. Right. Let's hit a question, Algared. Do you want to give us a question, mate? Yeah. Or should we get Paul to do it? Because he's not really used the bot very much. Do you know where to go, Paul?
It's under the bot questions, right?
It's under stream.
Is it text channels?
Stream questions under Inforunners, which is the only channels that we can see. So
and as you read it, we just
got it.
Yeah, you got it.
Thumbs up icon.
Yeah, so we emoji it to know which ones we've done. And if I don't want red, I'll do the strike through one. You know, the no origin one that we've got. Yeah, that means don't read this one. Yep.
All right, so Kavith on YouTube asks, who's leaving? Lol, let's get right to it. We've already done that. We're all leaving. We're revealing that Star Citizen is a scam. We all scammed you. Thank you for your money, suckers. We're out. We've paid off all our massive debts.
Peace!
True. Shinobi Trip asks, I have a question about Execute. Aren't you supposed to be in the Philippines? So yeah, some people already knew that Execute was leaving. So
yep. On Monday, I'm going up to spend the day with Algared. We're going to play some board games on Sunday, hopefully. Actually, Daily Noob's picking me up from the airport and taking me to Algared's place. Actually, Algared, we should probably have lunch with him, I reckon. Do you want to? Yeah. That place you were talking about, is that going to be open for lunch?
The Alroy, yeah.
Yeah, we'll go there for lunch then, and then we'll play a game with Noob, and then he can go home, and then you and I will play another one, I reckon. Yeah, and then I'm off. I gotta be there 3 hours early. I gotta be there at 7:30 in the morning for a 10:30 flight. That seems insane to me, but apparently that's when I gotta be there.
Sorry, my Discord crashed. So
okay,
I'm back, but
okay,
I'm just gonna use the I'm just gonna use my phone on Discord to read the questions.
Yeah, that's cool. Yep.
You
didn't miss anything. We're still talking about the last question. So
yeah,
you're very quick. You're like this. We don't have to be quick here because we've got the questions written down with the bot. That's the advantage of this. We can take our goddamn time. Paul's like, got to read fast. It's going to go off the screen.
Yeah, I'm a master at that now. All right. So Northern Trooper asks, should CIG keep making combat ships made from industrial brands or their subsidiaries?
My answer is no.
Can I let everybody in on a secret? Because I've discovered the secret of CIG, the secret sauce of CIG, and I think I'll probably make a video on this at some point. But get really close into your monitor. All right, especially if you're watching this after the fact. If you're watching this because you're at work or something like that. So I'm going to be very quiet. I'm going to be very whisper. CIG.
Go back.
CIG only makes ships because they think they're cool. They have no idea how to make anything else. They just make cool ships, and then they figure out how to make it work in the universe later. They have no plan. There is no grand plan about what needs to be made and what doesn't need to be made. Mm-hmm. They just go, hey, what's cool? And they go, this is cool. And then they make it. And then they figure out how to make it work. Mm. And if you look at every single ship in Star Citizen, especially in the last 5 or 6 years, you can tell it's just made because of cool factor. They got no idea how this is going to work. They're just doing it because, And that's why they have to redo all of these gold standards because they have no idea what they're doing.
Absolutely. That's how games are. That's how games are made in general. They make the game first, and then they use the story just to flavor enhance it later. And that's exactly the same thing. They design something that looks cool, and then try and make it functional. And you get things like the MSR and things like that.
Yeah, or the Ares. The Ares is a great example of Crusader is cool in the flavor of the week. Everyone likes Crusader. People wanted an A10 in space, so they decided to make a Crusader ship that was an A10 in space. Yep. That's the thought process. That's all it was. It had nothing to do with Crusader as a brand. If they actually needed an A10 in space or a capital ship killer, they just said, let's just do it and they'll find it out if it works later. Then they found out they didn't. It doesn't work, and it's a terrible idea.
Absolutely.
But
and now we've got to try and work out how to make it work. But yes, that was an abomination.
I actually kind of really hope at some
the
point...
Rock DS.
do you guys
the
honestly...
Rock DS is another example of that.
Do you guys honestly hope at some point they go back and errata a whole bunch of shit? So they realize there's things that they made mistakes on. I'd love them to go back and, for example, I know Algared's talked about the Ares as an example and said it would be much better if it was made by Kruger, and they... I actually hope there's like a 6-month period where they just errata the shit out of all these things that are things like the Valkyrie Liberator and shit like that. They rename things so they make sense. I'd love for that to happen, but I don't think CIG is so allergic to that.
Yeah. But they really want to avoid doing retcons, and you got to feel for the people like Sherry who would be going back and having to rework all the Galactopedia, all the other posts, and that would kill them. There's a crap ton of
I think should survive
lore. There's a crap ton of lore though. Well, I have trouble keeping up with it. I'm sure Paul has trouble keeping up with it all. So if you had to go and rip on everything to make it work, that would be scary.
I remember a weird problem. My eyelashes are hitting the glasses. They're that long. Feels weird, like it's just dragging like this on the glass. Anyway, right. Next question, please, Paul. We don't have very many questions left. This could be an incredibly short stream. We did the last 6 questions.
There'll be more people coming through. Ask more questions to see my beautiful face here. You got to see all of our beautiful glassed face. We have glasses on, which means we're smart. And 2 of us have got ties on, which means we're even smarter. So that's the rule. So if you want to hear smart people say smart things, then you should keep asking questions.
Statistically, more intelligent people are more messy. So yeah, whatever.
No, they just do more LSD. That's the statistics right
there. Yeah. That's what it is. LSD. Yeah. There's
which
all these mushrooms.
Seem like they're smarter.
Yeah. Sure.
MP Seaton on YouTube asks, why can we not buy a glaive in game? CIG says all ships can be purchased in game. Because they'll eventually
be able to be purchased in game.
Yeah, it's a limited version because they'll still want to have it limited when it comes in the game. All ships were going to be,
It'll be when they put the Vandal shop in. Look forward to that.
Yeah, or you go to places like Pyro where they have those things because they border a Pyro system.
Or a Bano.
We saw that in that Jackson McCleary cinematic where he was trying to look. He was looking at buying Vandal weapons. That's one. Actually, that's another episode you and I recorded, wasn't it, Paul? On reputation. That one that came up a few times in that. That's another episode you can look forward to that we've got in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that a real Tavaran weapon or Vandal weapon, or is that just a Asperia knockoff?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Jax McCleary is such a jerk.
Feels like someone's jealous. I don't know about you, Paul, but yeah.
All right.
yeah,
Next question.
Yep.
I am jealous of Xperia. They come to glory on Hurston
On the Hurston coattails.
on Hurston coattails, and then just leave. Just go.
Yeah.
Just don't do work with us anymore. Yeah.
Algared sounding like that shopkeeper at Grimhex. Don't say anything. Just go. God, I hate that guy at that shop so much.
Just go. Yeah.
Just remember, it's not my job to pick up after you.
Yeah, that's that guy. He's so annoying.
Yeah.
Oh man, if I didn't have the Armistice Zone, that guy'd be dead. So
He would have been decked so long ago.
Yeah.
Which, I'm okay with. I'm okay with people like that existing. And the problem I have is that he's like a random NPC that has the same lines and same generic. Like if he had a rarity of like spawning in the shops, it would make it a lot better. You'd be like, it's that guy. We're gonna have some fun. I'm going to the lockup, but I'm gonna enjoy it.
It's things like him that make me know that the writers are going to make some really annoying VIP clients to take care of.
Oh yeah, and they'll have some interesting.
Yeah.
They have a good job. Like the one thing I can say about CIG's writers is that they have a good grasp of character, of how to create characters that are interesting and dynamic. And sometimes they're a little bit one note, but usually they're fairly well rounded. Especially since I've heard a lot of the audio files that they still have for most of the mission. Like have entire mission arcs with mission givers. So like Tecia has like multiple levels that you're supposed to work with her through. And you get to know her a lot more about who she is, where she comes from, her background, why she's so pissed off at everyone, that kind of thing. So it's pretty good character writing. I would say it's pretty good character writing, because considering they've had 10 years to work on it too. They've really.
You'd be worried if they hadn't got that right, wouldn't you? By this point.
Yeah.
I will also with the latest monthly.
We should go through that actually, Paul. We should get you to do a live reading of that, like you normally do on yours. Or you're going to do that, or you're going to do that, or you're going to do that later on yours, because that's actually something we can do if you're up for it. Is we can just transition straight from here onto your own, as in you can drop off, and I'll raid you out onto it later when we're done.
I'm planning on doing the reading mine. I don't do Squadron. I do Star Citizen. I do Squadron next week when it officially releases, just because I can split that up into two different content chunks and drop them separately.
To actually read and digest some of it as well. So
yeah.
But I was having a browse of it last night, as it was before hitting the sack, and there was that finalized talk constantly through the through the Squadron 42, which again just to me just screams how close they are to finishing off. And I know there are naysayers out there who think rubbish, but yeah.
I think it's also important to remember that I think CIG feels like they're getting close. That's just why they're talking like that. Just because CIG thinks that they're getting close doesn't necessarily mean it will happen, because things can change. But I think that's the thing I've been trying to always push out is that like this, let's not confuse CIG's planning with reality, but let's also not pretend that CIG's planning doesn't affect how the game is designed or what we will see in terms of what time frame
or even and as you go along, you know when you're working on a project, you can tell when the project's you're getting to that end of that project, you're getting to the end, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it means you're going to finish in a week or 2 weeks. Still might be.
Let me put in a really simple turn of phrase. For the first time ever at CitizenCon, we're getting 2 days, right? We've never had 2 days before. What has all of a sudden made it so they possibly have think about how much they struggle to get content for 1 day. They go cold, they almost cold freeze for the entire, there's the ISEs are all garbage, and then they get this 1 day. What's given us a whole second day of content?
Yeah. It's a good question.
It's Squadron 42. It's kind of the most obvious thing, and if it's not that, I will be utterly baffled, because there's no way they're going to pluck 2 days of crap out of their ass when they struggle to get one as it is.
I agree, but I also 100% believe that CIG will just stretch it out to 2 days, because they're masters at stretching it out. I was at a CitizenCon where the big keynote was Spectrum.
Oh yeah,
legitimately Spectrum.
Yeah.
They've evolved since then. They've gotten better at doing these things, but that was a big keynote, was Spectrum.
I remember watching that and thinking, I was half expecting them to bring out a phone, because it was like an iPhone type presentation.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be Tony Zerovic for just half a day talking about updates to Quanta. That's probably half a day right there.
Well, don't forget, we've also got the one of them. Is it the Montreal team that's been doing the planets as well?
I think part of it, yeah. I mean, people forget that Montreal is basically a sandbox team, a third sandbox team, but they don't talk about them as a sandbox team, because that's all they do.
When did they kick off? Do you know? Was that
last year?
End of last year? Was it October, November?
Beginning of last year. Beginning of last year.
So that'd be on. Yeah, they would be up to speed by now. Yep.
Yeah,
they'll have content.
They've been growing. I think they have a studio of like 100 people now. But they just because they just built a new ship team out there as well. So
we got Montreal flavored ships now.
I think we can finally start to put some of those. We're not going to get 100 systems rumors to rest. We know 3 people rebuilt Stanton in 2.5 months. I think it was. So I'd have to go double check that, but let's say half those people do the math.
And we also know, Well, we also know that they're doing new building interiors, which are procedural, which tells me maybe not so subtly that CIG is planning on procedurally generating landing zones.
Yep.
So,
sorry.
Which is what the biggest problem has been for the longest time, is it takes them a long time to handcraft those landing zones.
Yep.
And now, go ahead.
I was going to say, I had also heard that they were looking at HABs, player HABs, and as being something they've been working on and looking at doing. And while you'll have personal HABs, but it'll also be low. There'll be multiple people having that same location or HAB. So I'm not sure how they plan to do that, but yeah, that's something I had heard on the pipeline as well. So,
right,
and not just the HABs we've got where we spawn, but permanent home type setups.
Yep. I was trying to do the math, but I've now forgotten. But roughly 50 people. What's that? You got 50 people. You divide that by 3. You got 16.6. Then you've got every 3 months, those people can do 1. So 16.6 times 4 would be the math, roughly speaking. Hang on, let me just do that. 16 point.
There. So that's
times 4 is 6. That's 664 planets. That can't be right. I've done math wrong there. That's wrong. That's so wrong. 16.6 times 4 equals. Yeah, I missed a point. So 66.4 planets in a year with 50 people. As in systems.
The planets. The systems have never, the planets and the systems have never been the issue. The issue, because they've been working on other stuff in the past. It's landing zones, it's points of interest, it's making the systems not be barren hunks of rock that no one cares about, and adding plants and animals and all of those sorts of things that makes it interesting. So
and that move to procedural in-tour of planets or buildings on planets, and in some ways it's no different from space stations. Like I can remember Todd Pappy talking about space stations and Disco asking what about landing bases on the planets, and Pappy said there's no real difference. You can have a space station on a planet is just a city. It's just the same things are there. It's just flat instead of in space.
Which is how we know we'll eventually have shops that you can own on space stations and all that type of stuff as well. I wouldn't be surprised if you can't have shops in your own base, so to speak, in your own you build your own base and you have your own little shop, much like they have at the moment, where how you go down and you buy your medical supplies or your waste or whatever it is. It'll be the same thing. Player own structures is what I was trying to think. I was trying to think of the term.
Yep.
But I reckon that's all going to be a thing.
In their cities, you'd buy your house in your housing area, and you could have half a dozen shops, crafting tables and a shop, and then that shop actually tied in with the auction house. And so if you went to the auction house, you paid more, but if you went to the house, you actually got a discount. So, and that's what close to 20 years ago now, that game. So
I honestly think, though, that's why they're looking at procedurally generated cities. So some of the landing zones can be bespoke, and then eventually you can see they kind of want to get to the point where they can just procedurally generate new systems for us to explore. So
the whole concept of having like procedurally generated buildings and building interiors is so that they don't have to create a landing zone like they do now to be able to have shops, because they talk about having shops in these buildings, having garages and apartment complexes. So the idea is that you might have like a landing zone in like a commercial district, but that commercial district is just buildings that you create through the procedural tool, and then just kind of like a much smoother and faster process than having to like model out brand new ideas.
And the way they're going to probably have to get around that, and I think it'll come with time, is different style sets. So for example, let's look at Microtech as a completely different style that is really recognizable to the others, because they're very circular. They're in those domes and bunkers. So if you can actually kind of have a circular tile set, a triangular tile set, all these different ones, so every time you go to a different place, it's a different architectural style and layout and stuff like that. And I think that's really important, because otherwise they're all just going to fall into those square layouts, and they're going to look, you don't want that repetitiveness, right? So if they can remove that, if they can then also get the more procedural stuff they can put into it. So like they can go to the level, and I'm just give you an idea of what I'm talking about here, right? Say they make a statue or a town monument, say it spawns a town monument, right? That town monument itself can be procedurally generated. Is it a bronze statue? Is it a concrete statue? Is it what type of head does it have? What type of arm does it have? Things like that. So if they go all out on something like that, every place you go to could literally feel like it's bespoke if they just keep building modularity within modularity. And as time goes by, just keep adding to that library and adding and adding and adding and adding, and no two places will feel the same. It's just a key thing if they keep adding to it.
And if I have the style of the different architectural styles put in, like it's imperial, it's settler, it's outland or whatever, they just say, oh, it's a imperial building, boom.
And then cross-pollination and weather and sand or water or whatever else as well. Because you could have, just taking Lawville, you put Lawville in a place where it's completely overgrown with sand or vines or cross-pollination. And then what if it's a viney place in a snowstorm or whatever, or it completely burn out. And then it's covered in snow. Like, you can see very quickly how you can cross-pollinate and get some really interesting places and stuff like that. Not to mention, we know anti-gravtech stuff's coming down the line as well. So you might be on a planet where that planet's completely shattered or something like that. And so basically the gravity's non-existent as well. So there's all these totally different places they can take down the road. Yeah, and the more options it has, that's kind of the experimental part of it, or the exploration part of it. You just not knowing what you're going to get when you're going in there. What is that combination? Because I do think there's diminishing returns. Because at some point, people are going to go, oh, this is just all procedurally generated, and it feels all samey. Right? And that's what happens with all procedurally generated games. At some point, you start to recognize stuff you've seen before. And the secret to that is just the more pieces that are in that jigsaw box to pull out, the more different it feels every single time. And that's going to be hard for them to pull off. They literally have to have numbers to pull it off.
Now, Riker says, but that's essentially what No Man's Sky does. Now, CIG have never made bones that they're going to go procedural. But what they've always said is, we'll do procedural, but then we'll go in and we'll touch it up afterwards. And I never got that impression that No Man's Sky was doing that. They were just...
No Man's Sky is procedurally generated within reason, but CIG, the whole concept of what we're talking about is less that CIG is procedurally generating, and more that they have the tools that they can make a landing zone in like no time at all,
Yep.
like
And then
a
go- and then
week.
they boom, 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 boom,
Mm.
go through and touch
Yeah,
it up. So,
and that's the key, is to get these nice tile sets to make them plop them down, but they also want to create them so that they make sense for like the local gangs or for the local government or the people who are controlling these regions or whatever. They want to like theme it around there. So that's going to be the hard part, but that's why they have a writing staff of 5 people, you know, so they can write those.
So
things.
real quick in Twitch chat, Axis 009 6 says he's talking about procedurally generated stars. Now, as far as I'm aware, there's only certain number of different stars. There is not that. You know, I know you have binary and trinary star systems and that, but even then, I think there's only like 10 different ones. So I think that would fall under the procedural generation stuff. But again, it's just how different it would make it. Like how big of a like there are stars that give you blue light and there are stars that give you red light and yellow light. Like, does that really drastically change everything in the entire system? Not really. It's just a different colored light. There are ones that'll have different gravitational effects, but man,
or like throw off flares more often.
Yeah,
that's like
that's what Pyro's meant to do. That's the example he literally gave. So yes, but I think again, when they create that, I actually think the person that is building the system, I think they will probably choose that because they're going to have to, for example, say there's a gravitational effect, they would have to place the planet within that gravitational effect for actually to matter. But if it just procedurally generates it and it's outside of it, it doesn't do anything. So is there any, well, I guess it just makes it a hazardous environment or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one.
All right.
As Paul said, there's going to have to be some bespoke stuff for each one.
There always is.
Why can't I buy a glaive?
Yeah. I don't know how we got to that point, but next question comes from Zaveth from YouTube, who asks, I would live maximum savings on CCUs, and I'm patient. Is this a good time to get my CCUs, or should I wait for IAE? Always wait for IAE.
Yeah, IAE.
Unless you're a subscriber, and I think they do monthly CCUs for subscribers, or is it Concierge?
They do different CCUs sometimes and others. So
yeah.
So,
but yeah,
if you're trying to get CCUs in your line, it's any time a Warbond CCU comes up. If it fits your chain, you use it. But other than that, you're using CCUs just to fill in gaps.
Yeah, I wouldn't be going to the grey market. You kind of lose your savings there a bit. So yeah, just wait to AIE and that. And we do know they rotate them. Like, so this year, previous years, generally the Polaris was the last one, but now the A2's at that same point as the Polaris. We saw A2 CCUs pop up for a change. So I don't know. I'd like them to alternate. Maybe one sales Polaris, one sales the A2, but we'll see. I got a feeling they'll do the A2 again. They're trying to encourage people to buy that because it's way too expensive.
It's a lemon.
Yeah, it's a lemon.
It's a piece of beep.
All right, next question comes from Ultimus, who asks, Ultimus13 from YouTube asks, how do you all feel about the new CCUs with the gear added in? What gear added in? Is there new CCUs with gear?
Yeah, you might have to link us that, man. I haven't heard of that one. That's a new one.
Yeah. I've heard about the new CCUs that people were upset about because they're changing the CCU stuff.
Yeah, talking about the colors.
But yeah, I think I've heard about that, but and I have the most heartless take on all of this.
So just to interrupt, but in Twitch chat, Monster Avery said, I got a red Warbond to Prospector Warbond and a Vulture Warbond, all with FPS gear on them. Interesting. Didn't know about that, man. That's new to me. But yeah, that's something new.
It's clearly if I are doing that, it's what they're saying.
Lemming, hang on, Lemming can talk to it. Lemming's in chat with us. Speak up, Lemming.
Yep.
Hey everyone, yeah, so there's like 5 or 6 new Warbonds. They're pretty good Warbond CCUs. I'm still working all of them out, but it's the Freelancer, the Cutlass Black. Are
these in the store, Lemming? Can we bring these up on screen if I go look?
Yes.
All right, cool. We'll go have a look. Whereabouts? Just in the normal ship upgrades?
Yep, just in the normal ship upgrades. It's a little hard to see what they contain, but it is listed.
All right, let's have a bit of a look here. Oh shit, I lost Paul. Wait, Can I bring him back? Yes, I can.
Hold the voice in the void.
Yep. And then, nope. Yep. There we go. It's all fixed. It's all done. You don't need to lead over Algared. It's all good. I just had to, because I had it set up for just me and you. Yeah. I had it just set up for me and you. Can you list the ships for me again, Lemming, if you don't mind?
Yeah, it's the Freelancer, the Cutlass Red, the Prospector, the Valkyrie, the Vulture.
Is it so? It's all the ones that just say two options. Okay, so Pyro RTX Multi 2, True Hold Tractor Beam Attachments. Man, that feels like they're fluffing the shit out of them.
But they're good war bonds.
Yeah, they are good war bonds, and you get the armor for free. That's interesting.
Which is that basically it used to make the war bond as cheap to get the same discount, because all that stuff's an extra 10, 15 bucks if you go into the store to buy it. So
yeah, so I guess if you're getting it for free, it's not terrible. Yeah, okay, so the closest one. Yeah, because the Cutlass doesn't exist anymore. Shit. So it's going to cost you $15 though. Maybe that's why they've done it. No?
No, it's $5 because
what's the ship then?
$10.
What's the ship? Because I'm looking here in the list, and the closest ships is the Mako at $95.
Go ahead and click on the Mako, and it'll say $5.
Oh, it does too. My bad. Okay. What's the next one? You said Freelancer. What's the next one?
Cutlass Red.
Cutlass Red. Is it the same?
Indication
yeah, they're different. They're actually different. So you do actually get different gear. Okay. And what's the next closest ship to that one? This one $5 as well, Lemming?
Yeah, it's Nova.
Nova, yep. Okay, cool. I can get behind that. As long as they're $5, like as long as they're not fluffing it, that's the main thing I think we'd say, Algared, yeah?
Yeah, and yeah, it's a nice way of getting that stuff. It's a nice way of getting stuff without. Yeah.
All right. What's the next one? Real quick.
Prospector.
Prospector.
Yep.
All right. What do we got here? We got Pyro. Oh, so this is the same gear. Okay.
Yeah. So there's also There's also like little career packs that are in the store under gear, I think, that have the same items mostly, I think. Maybe the items are different. I don't know.
Why is there an Idris P? That's weird.
Because it's looking at your ship. Oh, no, all ships.
No, that's all ships. And it shouldn't be listing that because it's $155, so that's weird. There's a bug there in the code somewhere.
Does that mean it's available? But there's a ship that's going to be 1750, which you can CCU to from a Idris P. I don't know.
It's because I didn't select. That's what it was.
It's going to be 145, so it's going to be the Ballista.
135, you reckon?
I don't think you chose the Warbond one of that Prospector.
Okay, I'll double check. 2 options available. This one. There we go. Yeah, you're right. Ballista. And there was one more, wasn't there? What's the last one?
There's actually a few more. There's the Vulture.
Oh, really? Vulture? Jeez, I've gone through them all. These are all pretty good, actually. I'm going to be honest with you. They're actually reasonable. Except if you got one for before the Vulture came out, which is what I did. But
yeah, it doesn't compare to the pre-release Vulture CCU.
I did it again. I need to check.
So this basically goes back to Zavef's question. Should I maximize my savings on CCUs at the moment? Should I be looking at getting
I think
CCUs
this
now?
is what he was talking about. Yeah, he was talking about these CCUs, but he didn't allude to the other part of it. Yeah, absolutely, man. If these work for you, go for it. Absolutely.
Yep.
But you got to realize me and Algared just woke up, and Paul was obviously busy, and Paul doesn't do this as much as we do you, Paul? So
yeah, I'm just kind of letting y'all do this because that's not my circus, not my monkeys. So
it is pretty cool though that Prospector and Vulture one are actually perfectly linked as well, which is cool. We don't see that too much anymore, where they offer 2 at the same time that are right next to each other. That's pretty good. And what's the last one? How many more, Lemming?
Yeah, there's the Valkyrie, which is a $10 CCU, but it's in a dead zone. So it's not, and it's the only one that has the combat gear.
Yeah, I've noticed that too.
But it also makes sense for the Valkyrie as well because it's a.
Yeah, you got a $10 for a Gemini. It's not terrible.
Yeah.
It's not terrible. But it does leapfrog some pretty big ships at $350. Yep. There's a lot of good ships there at the $350 mark. So yeah.
It is, but if you're going for like a Starliner or a Reclaimer or something like that, then you're not going to be able to use those jumps anyway.
The other really good one is the Galaxy, because you can get a $5 CC from the Valkyrie to the Galaxy. So that's not terrible. I'm going to be honest, I might pick up one or two of these myself, or more. I'm currently building 6 chains, but I don't want to spend $60 just before I leave. But we'll have a look at them later. What else is there left?
Go back to work.
Is that all of them? That's the last one?
I'm pretty sure that's all of them.
Cool. Thank you, Lemming. Appreciate your time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Just looking there, that looks like the Hammerhead's got two.
Yeah, it does too. That is the subscriber one. There you go. So the subscriber one as well. All right. And these, when they get really big like this, they tend to not have as much savings. But so let's have a look. So you got the Merchantman from $650, $25 for 75. That's not too bad though, Algared.
That takes what?
Yeah,
it's about a $50 discount.
Pretty good actually. It's not terrible. Yeah. I'm just trying to think.
Just to kind of chime in about this one. This one is actually a hidden Polaris Warbond. Assuming that you have a Merchantman. So if you combine the Merchantman TCU that was at Alien Week, so that was $50 off. This is $50 off. That's $100 off of Polaris right there.
Yep, absolutely. Don't disagree. Yeah. Okay. Some couple little hidden gems there, which is interesting. So yeah. I've got I do have 6 chains going at the moment. But they've been going for years. So yeah. All right.
So yeah, look at those CCUs if they work for you because they're Warbond. Definitely, because they'll give you a saving. But
just gone back to the screen. I can now see Paul's eyes. They're completely glazed over.
Yep.
So do you understand?
I'm just waiting.
So real quick, Paul, do you understand what's going on there? So for $25, you can save 50, and so as if you combine with the one from Alien Week, you literally for $50 you save $100. So that brings the Polaris down from 750 to 650 essentially. That's what that is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I get the idea. It's just one of those things where it's like now that also adds FPS gear, which is like okay, you know.
Yeah, I find it really weird. Maybe they're trying to sweeten people, like people aren't buying enough war bonds, so they're trying to sweeten the pot somehow. But I'm going to be honest with you. From my point of view, it's because the system's too complex. They're not buying them because they don't understand them. You know. Also, chat. We didn't clickbait you. X is leaving for a month. That's you clicked it, and that's the clickbait. You clicked it, and it was true. So this is your last chance to talk to X. Yeah,
for a month.
I'll be going Trey for a month. So yeah.
And Alapen, the answer for like Warbond CCU overrides an LTI when it doesn't. It has to start. Your start has to be LTI. Whatever ship you're starting from has to be LTI. That's the only thing.
There is an exception.
I think if you're going,
there is an exception to that. There are actually there are some very rare CCUs that add better insurance and stuff like that, or add LTI, and what it is best will carry over.
Yep. So the one that's the best CCU to carry over. So you start with an LTI token, and use a CCU it adds 120 months. You're not downgrading the insurance on that ship. It's still got its LTI, but if you've got a 6-month insurance that goes to 120 months, it becomes 120 months insurance. So that's how that works.
I do think it's our biggest failure as Inforunners, though, that we haven't brought Paul and Space up to speed. I really want to drill it into Space gets it, but I don't think Space buys a lot of ships, and I know you don't buy too many yourself either, do you, Paul? So yeah, but I actually think it would be good practice if we could encourage both of you and Loken too to at least start building one chain, because I think it would be really good for you to be able to teach it to other people, and I think it's a really good learning.
It's not that It's not that complicated of a concept. It's just more that I don't care. Like it's literally not my thing. Like I know some people want to play on it, and it's like that's just not my game. Like a lot of people are hardcore PvP, not my thing. You know, like I'm not going to really be a miner or a salvager or anything else like that. It's like I just view it as that. It's just not my bag. I get why people like it, just not my thing. So
yeah, it's just trying to help people that don't have.
No, you just send them to the Inforunners channel. Just send them to the Inforunners channel. They can look at the CCU build guides and stuff like that, and yeah, just send them here. CIG obviously need to send more people to our channel. Clearly.
Let's go for the next question.
Yes, please.
Jason.
Because the last one was all right. So Jason Harrison asks on YouTube, would the Vulcan be the entry-level fuel repair vessel? Yes, that's what we've talked about. We were talking about before.
It's where Paul Execute and I have had arguments in the past.
Yeah, we've discussed
heated debates. Heated debates.
Oh,
Not arguments.
It's more that like I think that they will have individual fuel repair and rearm ships, which will be smaller than the Vulcan, but they think that that's going to be the entry level. That's it.
Yep.
So.
No, I'm coming round to the fact that I think there may be a smaller one, but I think it will be. How do I put this? You know how you've kind of got the drone is essentially a hand repair tool. It's a ship that's a hand repair tool, so it's just a bigger hand repair tool. And I also think it might even fall under the cutter. You know that reclaimer cutter, Algared? I actually think that could fall under repair as well. So it could be a salvage or repair vessel it's essentially just a ship full of tools, you know, and you pick what you want to use.
And if we take the view that the MPVU, you know, that original variant of the MPVU being a repair variant, that's a smaller ship than the Vulcan. So even at that point, Paul is right. But repair of fuel rearm, the Vulcan is the entry level ship, because I don't see the smaller ones doing all three. There'd be one or the other, I think. So yeah, I don't know, but it's something we've always discussed. Initially we discussed it and set forward our arguments and reasons why we held those views, and
positions change, things change. I definitely changed my opinions on a lot of things as times go by, and I'm starting to see the validity of what Paul said, and I think there's definitely room for it. It's just whether or not they decide to make it is another question.
Yep.
But I think we could definitely agree that there's going to be at least a repair vehicle. Yeah, I think we could all agree on that.
Oh yeah.
So there's got to be
some sort of smaller vehicle. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. All right. Next question, please.
All right. Next question is from Nova42 from Twitch, who asks, question statement. Inforunner info execute meme _ SGX has his so
that's the
X has his sunglasses
that's my face as an emoji on Twitch.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I have my glasses on. Thank you. Yes. My eyes.
I mean, I need to get blue blockers as well, because like these
aren't
good.
These aren't prescription like these two. These are literally just blue light lens light blockers. I don't need glasses. So yeah.
I think you can get blue blockers that are prescriptions, so that's my hope is, at least. So
I've got like reading glasses. That's about it. These are my reading glasses. They're in Inforunners blue. There you go.
Andy Benson from YouTube asks, could they talk about the new CCUs with gear? We already did, so I'll answer those.
No, we can't.
Mount Stunner from YouTube asks, so Paul, you're admitting that you believe the Redeemer, while being your favorite ship, is cool as well. Otherwise, as you say, CIG would never have made it. Yeah, it's cool. I think it's ugly as shit, but like, you know, to use an example, Fortnite is cool, but I don't play Fortnite. I fucking hate that game. There are plenty of things that are cool that I think are garbage.
I actually, after doing the episode with you, I see why you don't like it. And I think I don't think the solution is what you think it is, though. I think it is a whole different ship. And I think it just comes back to the whole, they had to make that ship fit within what they were given. And I think that's the kind of problem, is they kind of need to take that out and put it in something else. And if they do that, it'll fix all the problems you have with it. And I definitely think you'll get your way eventually. I really do.
I think it'll still, if they made a new ship that does what I think the Redeemer should have done, I still hate the Redeemer. It'll just be
not a ship for you. That's fine.
It'll just be not a ship for me.
Yeah. And that's the way ships go. You know, you've got to have spaces. There's got to be things in the game that you hate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and that gives a flavour, because there'll be people who do like that ship and fly that ship and enjoy it. And you know, it's a bit like Ford in Australia. We got Ford and Holden. You know, great arguments over which was Bathurst 1000 race. So yeah.
Don't know about you, Paul, but I still can't stop saying Algared in that helmet that he put on yesterday.
Hey, listen, I'm jealous about that helmet. That helmet is awesome.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't get, I've been a complete and utter trash human for the last 2 weeks. So I've been catching up on TV shows and anime and books and comics that I haven't read or been meaning to read or watch for like a year. And so I went through and watched Vinland Saga season 1, and I was telling Al, because he's a fellow history enjoyer, that it's entirely based off the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles.
The second he said that, I was
yeah.
So
what?
He comes back with like this Anglo-Saxon helmet with like chainmail and all this shit, just sitting there casually with a little bonnet on, and like, what the fuck?
No, it's a Rus helmet.
It looks like a little bonnet though. You had like a little bonnet thing on before you put the helmet on. Yeah.
It's called a coif. Or whatever it's called.
It's very similar to queef when you said that, but anyway, right.
Yeah. No, it's a coif is the head one. That's just an arming cap. So the coif is that.
That's an army cap. Okay. Yeah.
But that's basically the padding so that when you bang the helmet, you don't get concussion.
Yeah. It's the arming cap and then the coif and then the actual helmet or something like that. There's like 3 or 4 layers on the thing, so you don't bash your skull open when someone hits you with an axe.
If you had the coif, you probably wouldn't wear the arming cap. So the arming cap's generally, if you're not wearing.
Oh, okay. Isn't there some sort of like padding you wear beforehand? Like it's the one that's like it's like an actual padded.
Sorry, I asked.
Thing
God damn. All right, move on. Now.
Listen. That's what's going to happen when you're gone, X. We're just going to turn this into a history podcast.
I know. I'm going to save them all from it before it happens.
You could wear a coif with the helm, or you could just wear an arming cap with the helm.
Okay.
So, I found if I wore a coif once, coif padded armor, and it was like overheat.
Yeah.
I'm overheating. You know, it was shocking. But yeah, that's a reproduction of an archaeological find from around the Balkans, Odessa region, so that down around that area.
As I say, you said Rus. My first thought was Kievan Rus. It makes sense.
Yeah,
Rus is Russian, yeah. I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah. Well, so Rus are a kind of a culture. So like it's where the Russian name comes from, but like originally the Kievan Rus are a type of like a culture that existed around modern day Kiev. And then you had the Muscovite Rus, who were kind of a similar culture that was in there. I think it was founded by the Vikings. So like the Vikings would sail down there, and then they established these regions, and then they kind of broke off from their original culture. So, which is different from say like the Cossacks, who live various different tribes of Cossacks who live in the southern parts of southern and eastern parts of Ukraine, and there's like a thousand cultures that exist in what we call
TV
Russia.
Show. I understand. I saw the TV show.
So the reenactment group I used to do stuff with was New Varangian Guard, so we were Varangian Guardsmen, so we were picking up, the armor types from that area, so all that area. So yeah.
All right. Next question from Northern Trooper.
From Northern Trooper.
If we are sticking with the new hires, do small vehicles should broadening their scope of ships to include industrial ships, e.g. mining, salvaging until new game loops come out?
I think that's too detailed.
Yeah. So let's just look at mining specifically. The miners that are left require drastic new tech beyond what we've got. So when you go to the Orion, and I think the Orion would be the easier of the two to do, you have to do much larger rocks. So that actually requires a lot more programming than it seems. And then the other RSI land miner is completely new because it's all underground. It needs HUD interface and all that type of stuff. So it's almost like a whole extension to mining. It's almost like doubling the size of it. And so they both probably are on the back burner until, you can get more gameplay for other things for the same amount of work. Is essentially what I'm trying to say.
I imagine the land mining stuff would be easier for them to implement than the big mines or the big asteroids, because you don't need to see the stuff underground. It just has to say, oh, there's stuff there, and you just need the animation to indicate.
I would actually have to sit down and kind of pseudo design that out to have a quick look at it. But if you think about it, the large rocks still kind of use lasers and that once you've made the rocks smaller and stuff. So it's really just breaking down of rocks. In fact, believe it or not, salvage and the breaking down of the ships is probably somewhat similar to breaking down of the larger rocks. So there might be double benefits there of using the same system.
Yep.
But I don't know. I don't know yet until I see
But we
it.
also know CIG do like to reuse tech,
Absolutely.
because it's who doesn't like to reuse tech, Strike.
Well, repair and salvage are literally just the opposites of each other. So that shows you that as well. So yeah. As for what was the other one? Salvage. So salvage is probably more likely the one we'll see. I don't know about you two, but I'd be expecting a ship to go in line with the munching at the end of the year. I'd be really surprised if we don't get
a dedicated muncher.
Yeah, or just another salvage ship. I don't know where it sits. Like, it's obviously got to go between the Vulture and the Reclaimer, but like, is it the medium one or the large one? I don't know. So, but
land-based.
Well, we've said that a lot, haven't we? We kind of expect it to be more land-based, because then it can probably focus on vehicles or something like that. But we'll see. I'd expect it doesn't have the processing capacity of the Reclaimer. So basically, unlike the Vulture that has to get out and blast things apart, it's probably still got lasers, so it can probably still chop things up. But yeah, it just doesn't have the processing and sorting facilities. So yeah, kind of like a smaller Reclaimer is probably. Okay, what manufacturer? The one I always come back to is Sinu every single time.
CNU, yeah.
Yeah. Because of the they're almost the the Tesla. They have a little bit of hands in everything. And I just think we need more of them.
The problem I find is that we don't really. There's only one company that I really know of, which is their key thing, and that's Drake.
Do you really reckon we're going to get when there's potentially only three?
No, I'm not saying it's going to be Drake. I'm saying it could be anyone, because we don't really have. There's only one company that I'm aware of in the law that is salvage focused. We've got Argo and they do the logistics side, but Drake are the salvage. That's their bread and butter, and there's no other company. Like, we've got lots that do industrial and mining, all that type of. But I only know of one that does salvage. I could be wrong. There could be another one out there, but.
What about you, Paul? Who would you guess it would be if you had
for salvage?
Yeah, for salvage. We've already got. Okay, why's that?
Argo.
Why's that? What leads?
Because they already have the mining. Salvage makes sense as well. Salvage and processing kind of thing. Just because they would be they already fit with the industrial category. They're a spaceship manufacturer. They already have the mole. So that, or RSI, because RSI is that cheat. CIG, like, the RSI is the cheat that they can use for anything. They can just throw any ship can be an RSI ship because it's just RSI.
What about
and they don't use that often. But
what about MISC then? By the same analogy, they've got the mining. Yeah, like you said.
Yeah, they could. I could see them doing it.
Heavy industry. And thank you, Daisy Psycho, for that $5 super chat.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Most appreciated. That's one coffee. I bags it.
Okay.
One
All right. Yeah.
All
So
right, let's
yeah,
move on to-
it's a bit of a tough one, that one,
Next-
because it's a bit open, isn't it? Yeah. All
It
right.
is a bit.
Well, I'll finish it off with, I think that we probably won't see a lot of industrial ships come out because industrial ships require extra steps that you wouldn't necessarily give to a new designer. So like small snub ships, which are very basic or generic, especially combat or just flight, is a lot easier to design and create, not faster. So I'd expect something more along those lines rather than something like along the lines of actual functional ships.
So really,
because those functional ships require a lot more additional work beyond just the initial ship design.
I think it's more likely to be a real stable industrial manufacturer because someone in YouTube brought this up. AK and Mizzy said Aegis made the Reclaimer, but what he reminded me of is that Aegis, that's an outlier. Because Aegis are a combat manufacturer or a military manufacturer. So if you've already got an outlier, therefore they're going to more likely go to something really stable. So I think Misk and Argo are probably the two big ones there for that. If I'm really honest, if I kind of put my, if I was to bet, you know, that would work.
They're the two that have certainly got the most in that industrial line. Like RSI does have that kind of a mix of that industrial line, but it's not. It's not, you know, they do everything. So they're a hodgepodge, but those other companies, So.
And I'd say if I had to pick between the two, I'd hope it would be Argo, personally. But we do need a bit more Argo. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Next question, Paul. Sorry, I know you keep trying to go on and we keep dragging you back. Kicking the screen.
Who is the
Nova 42 asks, who's the smarterest? Al's got probably the more degrees. Execute has probably got more skills, and I'm American, so I'm freest. Woo! I win. I'm the smartest, freest person in this. There we go.
Tell him he's dreaming. Hey, Algared. Yeah. Someone's stuck in the Matrix, I think.
And if someone knows where that comes from, tell him he's dreaming.
Yeah.
All right, Don Steeler from
Australian to get that.
Don Steeler from YouTube asks, how are you so smart and beautiful and bearded? How are we all smart, so beautiful, bearded? We're just God's gift to men and women around the world. That's just who we are. We're the sexy runners. So apparently X is God's gift to feet. So we have to figure that out. Well, what's happening?
I don't know, but why are you so into my feet, Paul? Come on, tell us your fetish. I don't know why.
Pagan Linux Geek asks, question, is there a history of the Reclaimer available for viewing? If you're asking me,
that'd be yours, wouldn't it? You made one, didn't you?
No, there's no history for the Reclaimer. There's no background for the Reclaimer. It's one of the few ships, the early ships, that never got a lore concepts out there.
Makes me wonder if they're going to redo it somehow, or they will worry. They kind of want it to settle a bit before they know what they're going to do with it. We'll see.
I think they said they want to redo the interior entirely, so they may actually move it from a different manufacturer if they do redo the interior entirely. Because they like the interior, but like that elevator that breaks all the time, they hate. So,
sorry, what did you say? The what ship?
The Reclaimer.
They want to move the Reclaimer from Aegis. Are you serious?
No, they didn't say that. I'm saying I think they could remove it from Aegis because it doesn't necessarily fit with Aegis's design thing. Like,
it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier, that you'd hope that down the track they could go down and move ships that don't fit into places.
I'm just trying to find which manufacturer keeps the Nostromo vibe. I'm struggling there because Aegis is the closest, believe it or not.
Argo.
In bright orange? Are you serious? I don't think so.
I mean, Argo or Misk, either one would work. Like Misk has some of that vibes as well. We haven't seen the interiors of all the hulls yet or anything else like that.
I still want a Quark garbage scow.
Yeah.
Oh, Quark. Is in Quark from Deep Space Nine.
There was a TV show. There was a TV show years ago called Quark, and it was the ship was a garbage scow.
I think I remember that. I don't remember. It sounds vaguely familiar, but I can't remember.
Somehow I think that show was rubbish. But anyway,
it was pretty cheesy.
Yeah.
And the graphics and the model, it was literally models, and the ship would go.
Yeah.
The way to move on the screen. It was really, really camp and cheesy, but it was a garbage scowl. Not a fighter, not a great big major fighter. Just a ordinary.
Do you know how much work they would
everyday-
have to redo to change that though? Because they've also now put that into locations like Ghost Hollow and stuff like that. So they've done a lot of work on that. I think that might have gone out the window somehow.
I don't think they're going to change the manufacturer. I'm saying like they could do that, but they definitely are going to change the interior because they said they hate that elevator, so they're going to have to kind of redesign the interior to make it a little bit better. And the answer is like, well, what about all of like the Ghost Hollow, older model? Just the explanation, older model.
They even just go, if they change the manufacturer, it's that the Aegis versions are just collabs with that military wanted a salvage vehicle.
That's something we
see
have.
the Starfarer Gemini.
That's something we have said before. We want to see more collabs because things like Starfarer Gemini. I want to see more of that. To be honest with you, is there anything in lore, Paul, that you could that might show another collab? Yeah, another collab.
I mean, there's the Ares is a collab. It's a collab between Bearing and Crusader.
Mm-hmm. But is there any others that you can think of?
There's the Retribution, which is the collab of everyone.
Yes, the collab with everybody.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, pretty much every manufacturer has a part of the Retribution. Like just because it's so massive that Bearing built the gun arrays. I mean, RSI I think was the main structure, but I wouldn't be surprised if Anvil was involved in it. Like it's just such a huge project that not one manufacturer could build everything.
That's kind of cool.
It's probably its weakness.
Yeah.
Probably the weakness of a ship, but so many.
Well, Drake could be the only one not on that, because they don't do military stuff. So Drake could be the only one.
They do.
Okay.
They do. They just UE just doesn't like it to admit they do. They do all of the civilian military stuff. So like they have the UE has a fleet of military vultures, but they're not used in combat. They're used to clean up areas after a combat has happened. Kind of think of like in the US, we have the Army Corps of Engineers, which are I think technically part of the military, but they mostly work on civil engineering programs. So it's that kind of thing. Like they have Cutlass Reds, which are just ambulances that work like on base. So if someone gets hurt on base, they would use a Cutlass Red to take them to a military, hospital, that kind of thing. So it's the big lie that the UEE doesn't use Drake, but the reality is they use a ton of Drake ships. They just don't officially recognize them as military, even though they're used by the military.
Well, I'm thinking of it real quick. How likely do you reckon we might get that search and rescue Terrapin this year?
It's hard to tell. I would say lower now that after they've kind of talked a little bit about how behind they are in terms of like how many of their staff is new hires. But I think we could see a concept for it or like a, kind of like one of like what was it? The Scorpius, where it was like they showed it off and then they released it like 6 months later, that sort of thing.
Yep.
So.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think you might be right about the new stuff. Then maybe I just find that really weird that they just don't have any other ships in the works to pull out. I find that really strange, but yeah, maybe it's both. You could be right. The more I think it through. Sorry, Algared, you were going to say?
I was going to say I wouldn't mind seeing a troop transport version of a Terrapin either.
What, a ship?
A troop transport.
Oh yeah, that was in the law, wasn't it? They had a dropship variant, wasn't it? Was it dropship?
Yeah, the Marines actually like the Terrapin dropship version. It's cramped, but they like it because it's
armored,
stealthy, and armored, and so
still like that version too. That I don't know if you ever watched the episode, Paul. I'm not saying you had to, but when I did that piracy episode at the end of last year with Moist and Agent, they proposed a cutter variant that was a boarding ship with a magnetic attachment. So you think like Cutlass Steel but cutter essentially, and I was like, that sounds sick. I'd be really up for that. Just like a dirty, cheap boarding craft, and once you attach, if they warp, you get sucked along with it. That'd be sick if you think about it. So it's kind of like a what do they call those, gummy sharks or something like that? Yeah, the gummy shark variant or whatever, because they suck onto the bottom of the shark. So the gummy shark dropship. I reckon that'd be awesome.
I think is something like that.
Guppy, yeah. But that's what it needs to be called, and that would be sick, like a guppy variant or something. But yeah, I'd love that. All right, Sorry for the tangent.
Dirk C.
Next question comes from Dirk C. Fenrir, who asks, "Do you miss Delamar and Levski?" Yes.
Yes.
Looking forward to their
We all
return.
miss Delamar and Levski.
I also miss Tesla.
I think they'll come back totally reworked and fixed up. And like you think about how bespoke Levski was, it was essentially like Grim Hex and Port Alisar, and they are definitely going back through and update. Look at Korea. Korea got an update. Porto is now on the cards. I would not be surprised if Kovalex gets the same treatment, and Grimhex eventually as well. And Algared and I did talk about this a little bit during the week, didn't we? It was during this week, wasn't it? And essentially, an asteroid is just a station that has a rock around it.
Yeah.
So I could see that eventually. Maybe even they make some kind of procedural rock tech that allows it to generate a rock around whatever a station used to be. You know what I mean? Because
or just a set of tiles like the regular stations that have rocks built into them.
Absolutely. So. Because again, that just means you can use the same tech to procedurally generate asteroid stations. And we know that that's something they want. Look at the hangars. The VFG industrial hangar is an asteroid hangar. It's literally called the asteroid hangar.
Yep.
I'm going to let you in on a secret. They're already working on that for Squadron 42.
Would not be surprised. Yep.
And
they've mentioned it by accident multiple times, and then they showed it off once by accident. So it's like, yeah, they're definitely working on asteroid stations. So
and we know they need them. Like people forget that Levski isn't just one station. That asteroid belt is Levski's the main station, and the whole belt is littered with little settlements or little.
It's like 150 stations or something like that out there. So yeah,
and that
for Delamar.
Then there's lots of little individual solo type people settled in that asteroid belt as well. So,
well, it's also important to remember that CIG didn't stop working on Levski just because they took Levski out of the game. There's multiple references to them continuing to work on Levski to build out the hospital for Levski. Yep. They've kept it up to date. They could drop it back into the world tomorrow, and it would still have all of the updated materials that it needs to have to be a station. Which is one of the reasons why I don't think we'll see it won't take them very long to go from Pyro to Nyx once they have the rest of the stuff out, because that's the main landing zone and that's it.
Yeah.
So
there's only that one main landing post that I think the hardest thing for them to do in Nyx will be adding all of the other little settlements or points of interest.
We're definitely spoiled for choice when it comes to Stanton. It is the exception, not the rule. You know, with all the landing zones it has, most systems only have one landing zone. Pyro and Nyx are good examples of that.
I was looking at the old
Testament
stretch goals. No, the old stretch goals.
Right.
And I was talking about Earth, and Earth was going to come with a fourth landing zone.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, and they did a vote on it too, didn't they, during the Kickstarter?
Yep. It was going to be Earth or London or Berlin, I think, was the options. But these days, that we don't have to worry about. You know, it'll be Earth has 4 major settlements, but these days you can land anywhere. That staggers my mind. But
they will have a reason why. Like we've talked about this a few times. There's probably some kind of plague or something that like decimated half of Earth or something like that, because they can't literally sit there and model everything to look realistic, and they can't go, well, cool, I live in Idaho, let's go down to Idaho and look at that mountain range that I know, because they won't be able to do that. It just takes too much time to make it look exactly the same. So they'll have some kind of law reason, no doubt, that to why only certain locations are look like, Sydney was wiped out, it doesn't exist anymore, you know, so you can't go to Sydney and look at the old opera house and the bridge and stuff because it's gone, you know.
Well, we know there are two things that we know are on the cards. One is the fact that the ice caps melted.
Yep.
So flood levels and all the rest of it. So that's one thing. The other thing is Earth is supposed to get sacked by the Vanguard.
Yep.
At some point.
Yep.
So,
spoilers, Algared.
And so,
blame Chris Roberts. He said it in 2012 during the release of the actual game that he said specifically that was going to happen.
Yeah. It's really obvious, though, to anyone if you go look on the star map. There is only one jump point out of the Sol system, yet every other system has a minimum of 2 jump points. So there is something
Well,
amiss
Still has
there.
two. Still has two. Still has two.
But you,
Yeah.
but you look
But
at this
Okay, I'm
great
gonna
big gap where you say, there's a jump point
Yeah.
right
next to a
there.
planet starting with V. So the Vandal are just going to backdoor straight into Sol. You can see it coming.
Yeah,
a
it's
mile
like
away.
they're like 2 or 3 jump points away from Vandal space. It's like not even a joke.
Yeah, two if you go around, but literally it's right next to one. It's like, that'll connect, and they'll come in a backdoor or something that we never discovered.
And
also the game closely follows the Roman Empire, and that's what happened with the Roman Empire. They got backdoored as well.
Yeah, I mean, I will also
Loosely,
like to mention this because whenever it gets brought up, someone goes on a tirade about how CIG is lazy and there's lazy writing, and I think that's just because a lot of people just hear that and then they don't hear the whole thing. The whole concept was originally it was based off of Space Rome as being Space Rome, but that was like the starting concept, kind of like how Star Wars, which was originally an allegory for the Vietnam War, and it kind of evolved from that. You know, it still has pieces of it in there, a rebellion fighting against imperial power, blah blah blah. So like there's definitely still some of those story roots there, and they're not subtle about it when it comes to like all of the Roman naming stuff, but it's not exactly. But yeah, there's going to be parallels to because the Vandals are the Vandals. Like it's not subtle. So
Lemming, if you can hear me, can you link those to me, please? I'm having trouble finding them. So Lemming's saying there's some starter packs that have now got extra Alpha UEC for the Foundation Festival. But I am having trouble finding them. So they have 15,000 Alpha UEC above the.
Explain why I saw the duo up on the main window.
Whereabouts? Sorry.
Sketch Therapy
up here.
There. Yeah. I saw the duo kind of popped in that screen earlier, so and a moment ago. Or it may have just been a grey cat.
Yeah, I don't see anything.
Anyway,
Sketch Therapy, the like that's kind of an evolution of what it became, like the whole idea of stormtroopers, and like there's the World War II allegories and even the World War II footage for Star Wars. But the reality is that it was originally pitched as an allegory for the Vietnam War, and that's why I said it evolved over time. But the concept of rebels versus an empire is it's still there in the bare bones framework of it.
I also saw an interview from what's his name, who did Star Wars?
George Lucas. Yeah, everything I just said is straight from George Lucas's mouth. So
one interview I saw, he was talking about it being cowboys and Indians in space.
Yeah.
The rebels are the cowboys, the Imperials were the Indians. And
it's originally designed for 12-year-old boys as well, so it just had mass appeal even for that. So there you can see there they got a 100i. I don't know if there's any other ones. That's the only one Lemming sent me, but yeah, apparently there's some Foundation Festival starter packs, and they're coming with essentially 14,000 extra Alpha UEC. So yeah, I don't know, bit of a sweetener. I don't know. I'd probably rather LTI long term than.
Yeah. I mean, it's a discount though, so.
Yeah, 14,000 is $13 discount.
Essentially, there's an Aura ML one as well. I don't know where he's plucking these from because I couldn't damn find them when I looked.
That's 10,000.
Yeah.
So that's 9,000 extra.
No, this one's 15,000. It's 15,000.
15,000. Hard. Like I said before, it's small print on this.
You're old. It's fine. We get it. I'm just teasing you. Yeah, I don't know where he's getting them from. I can't see them here in the.
Have a look at the normal.
That's in the game packages. Is not there though. Yeah, I don't know where he's pulling them from, but yeah. Anyway, so there's some there as well.
Worth having a gander at those.
$40 is not too bad either, but then you just take.
Oh well, that's a $5 discount on that pack on the Aurora, so it's $40.
Yeah.
So
bottom of
the game's costing you $10 instead of 15, and you're getting extra starting credits. So that's not too bad.
Bottom of the page, he says. Bottom of the page. Which page? Bottom of the game packages page, maybe. I don't know. Let's have a quick look. Nope. Oh yeah, there they are. They're both there. Yep. So they're on the game packages page at the bottom. Oh, and they both come with green skins by the look of it. That's a green and white MR, and I think that's a green and white 100i. Oh, there you go.
Yep. So a skin, a discount, but discount's not too bad. Like 20% discount for the 100i. That makes it quite a cheap ship.
Yeah, it allows you to get into something like what do you call it? A Avenger Titan for cheaper as well. It's not terrible. Actually, it's 65. Yeah, I think you could do that. Yeah. So yeah. All right.
The only downside is it's not LTI. But if you're sticking to a small ship, do you really need LTI? Like really? I always say to you, if you can get LTI on anything, it's worth getting just in the long run. But if you're looking at CCU chaining, you want to start from an LTI token because chances are you're going to a big ship. You don't know where your chain. You don't necessarily know where that chain's going to go. But if you're looking for the things you're going to start as an LTI chain or a CCU chain, you want to start with LTI. That way, if you go to a capital ship with that chain, you've got LTI in that capital ship, and I think you want LTI on any of those big ships just because they're big and they're going to cost a fortune and all the rest of it.
So what is your favorite actual favorite ship, Paul? Is it the 600i? Is that your favorite one because of the bar?
My actual favorite ship?
What is your actual favorite ship?
The Freelancer.
Oh, okay. That'll definitely eventually get a rework, like the Cutlass did.
Yeah.
And it'll come up to speed. I think it will be a really good ship when it gets that rework. It's going to be a long time coming, I think, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's probably post 4.0. I mean, it'll
probably post Squadron, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but I mean, I honestly don't think we're going to see much. Like, I think the difference between 4.0 and Squadron is going to be a couple of months.
I think we just found another Can We Fix It episode with Paul Algared, the freelancer.
Yep. I love it.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I know you love it, but like, what would you do to improve it, type of thing, you know? So yeah, because there's definitely some things that needs to improve. It's one of the last of those original 5 that I think that needs the upgrade. And then the only other one that I can think of that's outside that might be the Caterpillar. That's in that older bracket now. Starfare, obviously, Retaliate, all those type of things. I don't know. It's just interesting to go back over those ones and see what would improve. So yeah. All right.
Next question. Let's get to that one. Gore-Tex Frog asks, question for Algared. I remember you once mentioned you were a teacher. What subject and level do you teach, if I might ask?
Klingon history. I couldn't help it.
I am a history teacher by training.
Yeah.
I teach a Stage 4, which is basically school history class. But at the moment, I am a language teacher. So I teach Indonesian. So Selamat Pagi to any Indonesians, or Selamat Pagi orang Indonesia. So. And
the secret is that if you're a social studies teacher, if you're a history teacher, you're a social studies teacher. And if you're a social studies teacher, you're whatever teacher they want you to be.
You were doing PE at one point, were you, Algared? At some point?
I was.
Yeah.
I was doing chemistry. All right. They put me in biology and chemistry at one point. All right.
Can you see Algared out there in shorts and like the long white socks and like, let's go,
yeah,
kids.
100%. I can see him smoking kids, being like
Robix style with Algared in the leotard.
I can see that with a big smile and the kids complaining and be like, well, you're all going to be running for today. We're going to be running for 30 minutes. No stopping. And if you stop, I'm going to send you the principal.
Yeah. I found that doing the PE was the hardest because not being trained in PE and not being trained in, the gymnastics and all the rest of it. How do you do duty of care? And make sure students are safe and doing dismounts correctly when you have no idea yourself. That was always my great frustration and fear. And I suppose it's the same if you're doing chemistry. You get lumped into chemistry. How do you do the chemistry experiments or other stuff?
The labs. Yeah.
The lab.
Yeah. How do you do it safely? What are the rules? How do you make sure that the kids are following the rules? All that sort of things. So
how can you apply duty of care to your students and make sure they're safe and doing things correctly and safely when you don't know yourself?
Do they still use Bunsen burners?
Yeah.
Oh man, the number of times kids used to leave those on at my school. The teacher would walk in and be like, "Whoa, head spin."
Yep. So,
Hmm.
so it is a, it's always a concern. It's always a worry, always a concern, trying to make sure you're able to look after your students and keep them safe.
That's our number one job as a teacher. A lot of people don't realize is that the first thing you got to do is make sure that the environment is safe, period. Second is to make sure you have enough rapport with your students that they trust you. And lastly is the actual, like, you start to begin the actual teaching part, because no one's going to learn anything if they are not safe or comfortable. Because you try to do something where you're like incredibly like you're sweating buckets, and the person next to you is you think he's gonna hit you at any moment. Like, you're not learning shit unless you have those stables. So, all right, next question.
A little bit of tangent before you go on the next question. Shinobi Trip in YouTube was saying the STV is a referral bonus. Yes, I did see that earlier. How do you guys feel about the STV? I think it's the first time it's been a referral, hasn't it? The STV.
Yeah, that's fine.
Good little vehicle.
I think the STV.
If you get a referral bonus from an STV, that's a free LTI token.
Everyone loves a Steve. No one hates the Steve.
I don't have the thing on screen. I could have turned my referral code on.
I want to know where Eve is.
Well, that's actually the next question, which is from Tom Van Dorn, who asks, is there a CCU chain for the new event, which we talked about? And do we get a small rover with your code like Law of the West? Have a good holiday, and to the lads with ties, we'll see you soon. So yes, you will get, if you've signed up, if for some reason you haven't played Star Citizen and you're watching us, let us know in the comments below. How the heck did this become your first Star Citizen video?
And if you use Execute's code, you will get, in fact, if you use anyone's code, you will get a small rover at the present. But
do they get the rover as well? I thought it just
well,
it has been in the past where if you refer someone, you get one and they get one. But maybe go have a look. I'll go have a quick look while we and see what I can find.
But at least you'll get some coins, some cash, some in-game cash.
What from Tom Van Duren says, if I do I get one like you do with Law of the West? Well, if Law of the West, you get if you use Law of the West code and you get the rover, then yes, you will get a rover, because it's just a referral giveaway.
Just reading this now.
Referral bonus.
Yep. It doesn't say if both get it. You get free gear items, ships introduced to new players. So time you and the play. Oh, this time you and the player you refer get a Grey Cat STV. Yep, both of you get it.
So
with the green paint. Yeah, fucking awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, that's sick. That actually works really well too, because basically means any friends you pull in, you're going to get one as well. That's awesome. That's how you get.
I was going to say that's the same with the cutter. I think a couple of the ships have been like that, where you both get it. So, and I think that's the way to go. You know, like if anyone needs the giveaway, your friend's the one that needs a giveaway. Not, chances are you don't need another a Steve. Paul doesn't need a Steve. I don't need a Steve. It's a bonus. It's nice if we get them.
That's what we were going to do too, weren't we? We were going to give something away today.
We were going to give something away today.
And Paul's going to give. Are you going to give that thing away later, Paul? On your own thing?
Yeah, I was going to do that.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think we should give away, guys? We can talk about it and chat can just drool. So these are the ones that we were looking at. So we're looking at the Ballista, the Fury, the Lynx, and possibly the Cartwell. So I know what they're going to say. They're going to say the Ballista or the Cartwell. But what do you guys generally think we should give them? I'm just talking to Paul and Algared here, so you can talk amongst yourself.
There are two classy.
We're going to ignore it.
Yeah, we have two classy gentlemen here, so the Lynx is what I would put out. But
there you go. I don't worry about it.
All right. Well, what hoops are we going to make him jump through to get a Lynx? Do we? Maybe we could do. What if we do a one-off, not a tuner, 3 questions thing, and we have 3 people, and then the last person just wins the Lynx? How about that then? So we'll get Paul to do trivia questions because he's here.
Okay.
Now, Paul,
I don't know what non-tuna is.
Oh, you've never seen Not a Tuner. So what Not a Tuner is I usually have a camera up,
Not a tuner.
not a tuner. And what it was is in Australia, there's a thing called Play School, right? And you used to pick windows. So what we'd do is we'd show off cool things. So for example, I'd go, tell me what this is. And I would go, like, here's one that I used previously. So I would go, I want to know where this is from and what it is. And I'd show something like this. And this is Stitches from World of Warcraft. And it was the first person in chat to say Stitches on World of Warcraft, right? And then that person would find 3 of them, and then those last 3 people would go up against and do it like a sudden death, and then basically the final person gets to pick the window, and behind each window is a prize, and it's usually one of the ships or a skin or something like that. And so I think the last person won a nomad was the last person.
Okay.
And we have it. Wait, let me, if I grab it real quick. Hold on.
So
at the moment we've got 2 ships in the Not a Tuner and 2 skins. So
So here I'm trying to.
I'm still trying to grapple the idea. So you do
it's a game show basically.
It's a game show. It's a game show. So this was the whiteboard that I used, right? And it's just been sitting there. But basically, I'll just show you the windows real quick. So that'd be underneath, right? These are the prizes underneath from last time, and we have these windows like a triangle one.
An arch.
We have this is a TIE fighter window, a square one, and a round one. And basically, you just pick a window, win a prize. That's essentially what it is. But it's like Play School, because Play School is where I took it from. And the whole and the whole Not a Tuner thing came from a dream I had, right? Where when it came from the Fortuna 400 skin, you know, and I somehow cross-referenced it with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and instead of saying not a tumor, you know, in the movie, how he goes, not a tumor, it's not a tuna, and it just stuck. I've now seen it referenced other places. Like, I've even seen other YouTube videos referencing tuna that are in the SN community, so it's freaking me out. But anyway, but yeah, just came and it stuck. Yeah.
And so originally it was just, we'll do the Fortuna giveaway with 3 skins, and a skin was we were just going to put another cheap thing in the prize pool, and then we started getting the
CIG.
So we started
just chucking them in.
Started just putting ships in. So
the
Not a Tuner game show basically became it's almost a separate thing by itself.
And it was a cool little way for people to get to know us as well. So we would you know, show off little things that we'd been doing. I've actually got a whole bunch of stuff. Algared's got a whole bunch more planned as well, haven't we, Algared? So we've planned a few more. So if you've got something cool, like it might be something you've painted, like a Warhammer miniature or something like that, or whatever you feel like showing off. Like, yeah, totally up to you. So what are some of the things we've shown off, Algared? Badges even came on. Badges showed off some. He showed off some rare computer game memorabilia that he had. And he
I was horrified when people didn't know who Victor Hurston was.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
So yeah, I have some things I can grab. I have to prepare a little bit for that. But
yeah, that's cool. Well, you would essentially only need 4. Four things. So we can do 3 people and then 1 for the winner. So this is a mini not a tuner because I haven't printed it and I haven't organized it and I don't have the camera turned on and all that type of thing. So and we'll give away a links then. So yeah, if you want to win a links, be here or be square. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hold on, let me grab some stuff real quick.
Yeah.
But then hold on. I'll be right back. I'm going to use the restroom real quickly, and I'll be right back and grab some things for it.
While that's going on, we'll do a couple of questions.
Yeah, we'll do a question. All right, you go, Algared, if you want to read. Lars Balmer.
Well done, Tom. So Lars Bumner says, not related to anything, but is there knowledge regarding the singe cannons on the Defender? It used to be special and instant last weapon and very weak. Yes, and yes. The singe cannon is a Banu weapon. It was supposed to be an instant long-range weapon. It got nerfed because it was just too deadly, and it was deadly.
They've basically made it so it only appears on size 5 and above now. So it's basically larger capital ship weapon type of thing.
I remember when it first came out, we went into Arena Command with the Defenders, and it was it was so much fun. It was
yeah. I I do wonder though how the Defender is going to survive long term, because that was a staple of what that was. That was a sniper ship, and now with the 2 seats, it kind of doesn't work in a lot of ways. So I do think it's going to need something to change how it operates eventually.
There were 2 things that made the Defender stand out. One was the Singe Cannon, and the other one was the Phalanx Shield.
Yep. So basically, the second person really only has the Phalanx Shield now, so it's not the best anymore, you know. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, even with the Singe Cannon, the second person was really only doing a shield. So
well, you can't really shoot. It'd be awesome if you could shoot in like it was a turret, essentially on the bottom, and it'd be
great if it was a turret. It'd be great if it was almost like that turret on the Mustang. You know the way the Mustang. A lot of people have forgotten this, but the Mustang, if you use backward view, that turret would actually turn back rearwards and you'd be able to actually shoot rearwards. Same as I think the Reliant used to be able to do that. I don't know if they still do, but
it does lead into its name though, doesn't it? Defender. So it's highly defensive. There's a whole person just defending the shit out of the ship. So I think you're right, Algared. That's probably I'm looking at it from an offensive perspective, but if you look at it from a defensive perspective, if you've got someone that's just 100% on defense, that's going to keep that thing alive. Quite hard to kill, honestly.
And I could see, in essence, you don't really need a long-range sniper for the Defender, because it is a Defender of the BMM, which is long-range weapons anyway. So you'd almost expect it to be a really good fighter, rather than a long-range sniper.
But it was kind of unique, though. You know, those Singe cannons made it kind of unique. And personally, I'll put it this way, Algared, how would you feel if they removed the 4 size? What is it? 4 size 3s? What if it had just 2 size 5s, or 1 size 5, even?
I don't know.
It's a hard one to quantify.
It is a hard one,
but it would definitely make it sniper-esque, would it not? It'd become like a mini Ares in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and my question is whether the Ares actually works as a ship anyway, whether it should, you know. And
you're right. It is a hard one, because I think eventually the fire rate on that iron is going to drop significantly. Like they've even stated it's meant to be charge based, so like you hold it down for I don't know how many. Let's say it's 5 seconds. That all of a sudden does actually make that a sniper ship. You hold it down and it charges up, and then maybe that's what they do with the Singe cannons. Eventually, they're a hold down fire mechanic, and it fires all 4 at the same time, and that's how it's a sniper. It's a charge shot mechanic. Yep. That would fix it.
And that charge shot mechanic could work, and then if you don't hold it down, it just
yep.
But it'll be interesting to see them do something nice with the.
All right, I'm back.
Welcome back with the Singe cannon, and certainly Defender, because you want it to be different. It's an alien ship, so I think, because it is a full-on alien ship, not just a remake. You want it to be unique. You want it to have systems that are different from the human systems and operate slightly differently, just to give that flavour. But
no, Paul. How do you feel about the Singe tachyon cannons on the Defender, and you know, being that 2-seater mechanic? How do you kind of feel that ship sits, and is there anything you think that they could do to change it, to upgrade it down the line?
Can we fix it?
Yeah, essentially.
That's another one.
I think they just need to fix, because like they need to do beam weapons, because tachyon guns are supposed to be beam guns. So, and to make the second seat worthwhile, not really. I mean, it's a designed as like kind of a. I mean, the only thing that would make the second seat worthwhile is system management. So shield, power, that kind of stuff.
I think that's what Algared hit on, the phalanx shield. So because of the name is Defender, that whole person just playing defense is going to make that ship insanely hard to kill.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
Get that phalanx shield in the right place. And whew, yep.
Good question, Lars. All right, next one, Algared.
So Waffle Insanity says, let me just cancel that one. He says, what the heck is happening with the SRV?
Hey,
tractor beams and the Hull C will be released together, or will tractor beams be 3.2.1?
Yeah, so I've questioned this as well with the SRV. I think the SRV was originally on the cards, but now they're probably thinking normal tractor beams first. It seems to be because maybe they potentially want to do the bubble tech for the SRV ones, because we do know there are now 3 sizes as well.
Yeah.
And the SRV is
really depends on,
designed for the bigger stuff, is it not?
I think it really depends on when 320 comes out. Like, we could see tractor beams in 320, but if 320 is not coming out until the end of October, then yeah, like,
well, if
320 is coming out next month, then yeah.
I think what I'm trying to hint at is it normal tractor beams versus the SRV, because the SRV is the size 3, it's the real big ones. Then you got the hand tool that's size 1, and then all those ships in between, like the 315p, the Cutlass, and all that, they're all size 2s. So it seems to be like they're going to be releasing size 2 first, unless you think different.
I don't think there's any difference. I think they'll release all of the different sizes at the same time, which, because we don't actually have any indication that they're releasing size 2s for 320 either.
You do know, we just don't know. You do know the SRV has a bubble tech to it though, like it actually grabs things in bubbles.
Yeah,
and I think that might be why the SRV is waiting, because it's slightly different.
It's done though. The SRV is finished,
but the tech of the tractor beams is not. That's my point.
Yeah, but I think this is the same thing as like tractor beams for like larger vehicles and stuff like that. I don't think it's that much different. I don't think it's going to be that much different in capacity, because listen, do I have to talk about the Raft again and how CIG released the ship with functionality and it really didn't have any of the functionality? Even if the SRV couldn't tractor ships, it could still tractor everything else. Could do everything that size 2 could. And has that stopped CIG from releasing ships before? Hell no. They will do that. Like they're not introducing the economy in 320, but they're still releasing the Hull C. Like they'll release it if it's ready, and if it's ready and some of the tech works, then they'll put it in there. So
if it's they'll release it if it's ready and there is some form of gameplay for it.
Sorry, Waffle. I thought there was only 3 sizes. I thought so. Apparently, there's 4 sizes of tractor beams. Okay, right.
Well, I think the handheld
is 0. That's what he's saying. Yeah. Saying there are 4 sizes of tractor beams. The hand tool is 0. The FPS tool is 1, and then the ship ones are size. There are 2 sizes. Okay,
which is not really any different to what you were saying. Because when you were saying the hand tool, you were talking the big version.
I was.
So, but thanks for the clarification.
Yep.
Donnie S has a question. They say, what are your thoughts on buying gear, weapons, skins, and armor?
Don't.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to tell you no, but it's a bad deal. It's always a bad deal.
That's what I mean. Yeah, don't, isn't it? It's a bad deal. Do what you want, but don't do it because it's a bad deal. Yeah, absolutely.
It's my bane with the big packs and the upgrades to the Legatus pack. They pad the price out of a Legatus pack. Yeah. Smallest violin playing just for me.
Play your violin for the
That's right.
Top end of town. I feel like I'm on the Titanic and it's just wait, too soon. I should say Titanic. Too soon.
Yeah. But yeah, so when they were redoing the packs, at one point they said to a lot of the top end backers, certainly the Million Mile High Club backers, they said, what do you want in the packs? And we foolishly said everything, and I was certainly saying meaning the ships. And they've put everything in them. And that means we get every skin, every weapon, but they use that to bloat the price of the expansion packs. And so to get an expansion pack actually cost me more than the cost of all the ships. I could have 2 of every ship that's in that pack, and it will still cost me more money, even if I melt those ships. So it's just...
I said to Algared, go back and ask for one that doesn't have all the bloatware.
It's tempting. But yeah, so that's a bane for me. Do I like having it? Yeah, but I'd rather have all the ships rather than bits and pieces. But that's just me.
All right, next one.
Concrete Science asks, do you think Crusader will eventually have a starter package? Alternatively, do you think manufacturers should have their starters in their lineup, or does it not make sense for some companies?
We did talk about this. We did. We've talked, but you go first. Actually, let Paul go first, because then we can see what his response is.
I mean, I don't think you need to have a starter for every company. You could, but if CSG wants to thinks it's cool. The issue is more, does it make sense? Because, for instance, we've got the infamous Reliant, which is technically a starter for MISC, but it has no purpose as a starter other than being cool. So I don't necessarily think you or CSG should do a starter for every ship manufacturer.
Let me reword it then. What manufacturers do you think they should do that are left for starters?
I don't think there's many, really. I mean, Argo maybe as an industrial starter.
We've only got we've only got two, and that's Crusader and Argo. That's the two that Algared and I talked about. Algared, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah. You don't need an Anvil starter ship, but you already do with the Arrow. Mm-hmm. So,
Pisces.
like, you don't need in the Pisces, right? The Pisces. You don't necessarily need an Aegis starter ship because you already have that with the Titan. Mm-hmm. So, like,
it's what they classify because they have starters and advanced starters. So the easiest, most clear-cut starter and advanced starter is the 100i and the 300i. They are the most clear-cut of a starter and advanced starter. So I could theoretically see an Aegis starter. I could, if they wanted to. As you said, though, do they need to? It's one of those they never stop to think if they should type of things. It's the same thing with Crusader. Do we really need a Crusader one? We've got, how many got now? Like 5 or 6? Do we really need more than that? I'd argue no.
No. Here's the thing to remember as well, because I never drill this into people's heads. Because whenever we have like a price increase of, say, like the Cutlass or anything else like that, people lose their minds. Every ship is going up in price. Your Aurora starter package is going to be $60. Your Mustang starter package is going to be $60. All of the ships that are currently starter packages, that have current starter packages that are below $60 will be $60. And those that do have $60 starter package will remain $60. So, like, the value of ships is going to decrease drastically as it goes up, unless they actually increase the prices of those other starter ships to match to get higher prices. So, like, everything is going to be more expensive as you go along. So the question is, do you need 7 different starter ships to choose from, or just 2, like we have now with some other ones that are optional? So
I would like to see, if I would do multiple, I'd like to see a starter ship that does just cargo, a starter ship that just fighter, a starter ship that is rescue, a starter ship that is, almost professional starter ships, but at that starter ship level. So that people who are into cargo just go, oh, that one. So you could try that people could go to the area that appeals to them. But then I also get, there's that look of ships, so what manufacturer appeals to you most, and you don't want to rescue because you like that design look of a ship. But I think having that variety is a good thing.
Thank you for the raid on Twitch, no. Daily Noob, and the subscription. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Noob.
Looking forward to seeing you on the weekend, Noob. And kicking your ass in board games. It's going to be great.
By the way, actually, I have my 4 things.
All right, cool.
If you need to do those 4 things.
Do we need to test them, or do you reckon people are going to know? Again, if we need a backup, me or I could probably grab one. So do you want to grab your first one? Because we are essentially 2 hours in, so we are kind of compressing this one. So
Midway.
Yeah.
Okay.
So your first one. So what do you want to know about it? There's usually 2 things, something like what is it and where it's from, or something like that. So what we try to do, and the reason we do it that way, is whoever gets the most details first wins.
Mm-hmm. So this one is, what is it? And let me look up the actual details for it, because I want to remember when it was.
No one's waiting for you to Google it, Paul. It's all good. No one's waiting.
Well, no, the issue is I don't know when it was made. This is I want to know what it is and what version of it is.
Oh, wow.
Is this? Because there's multiple versions of it.
It's a TARDIS.
It's a Batmobile.
And it's William Hartnell.
Okay, I know this when this was. So what generation was this made? Like, what generation is this? Like, what version is this? And what is this? All right.
Give us a countdown. Give us a 3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, I know what that is. Holy shit. I do know what that is. You're old, sir.
That's right.
I am. I had this right. I'll give you a hint. I got this around college. What's the name of this? And what generation is this?
Anyone got it right? Paul, you're the one that's got it right.
Doc Frost.
Doc Frost
Doc
got
Frost.
it?
You got it first.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, that was quick. Wow.
Well, okay, he got it close. If someone could give me the actual name of it, because he got the generation right and generally, but he didn't get the brand name like of what this actually is.
Yeah, I know what the brand name is as well. So yeah, it's still open if someone can beat it.
Yeah. No.
There we
Sandgroper
go.
got it.
Yeah, Sandgroper got it.
Sandgroper got it.
Bang.
It's an iPod Nano 3rd generation.
Yep, that's what it is.
This is my first MP3 player. I, for some reason, found it recently, and it's been like in my office for a bit. And I was just like, right, I forgot this thing existed. So yeah, I've had this since 2007.
I actually found a role-play book, but the first role-play game I played was a game called Dragon Quest by SPI. I actually found my rule book.
Oh, nice.
In almost pristine condition, which I was surprised at. So,
yeah, it's funny how all those things feel so long ago, but they're really, when you get to our
does
age,
it still work?
Yeah.
well,
I don't know if this still works.
You'd have to charge it up. The battery would be flat as attack right now. But
yeah. There's no battery, but I'd have to find the actual charging cable, which doesn't exist anymore. That kind of stuff.
You could buy one if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'm sure I could find it.
It's up there with
it always worked.
The Zune player in Guardians of the Galaxy. The really weird one for me, because I used to sell those when I was working at retail for a short period. The one that I always found with the shuffles, the really tiny ones that were just a tiny little clip, and it was just like click, double click. That's all it was. It's like, why did they make this? And it cost like $200. It was like a ridiculous amount of money as well. And I was just like, why would you buy this? It's so shit. It was small.
Well, it's the reason why.
Because
you gotta remember that Pandora was a big thing at the time. And like the idea of having a custom radio station. That's all it was. It was just you upload all the songs you want and then just put them on there. And it's a custom radio station. It just kind of goes. So, which makes sense.
But you show that to a kid now, they have no idea what it was.
Man, you got a regular phone to a kid these days, they have no idea what it is.
Well, the Nokia phone.
I still have my old flip phone.
Yeah. Actually, I've probably got a flip phone here somewhere if I look around.
It's interesting though. Kids will still do this. They call me.
Yeah. They don't
call me.
Yeah. Well, that's because it's like a telephone. But the old dial phones. I actually saw a kid try to use a dial phone about a couple of months ago. It was hilarious. He's like, "How does this work?" Because it's like a diner essentially for American viewers. It was a restaurant, and they had an old dial phone there, and the kid couldn't use it. It's like, this is so slow because you dial 9, and it'll take like 5 seconds to turn it back around.
At some point.
But kids still do the old the old thing for call me. But when have we used the handheld thing to the head to for the speaker and earpiece? We haven't done that for years.
Well, you still can do it on a mobile phone. I still think it's relevant. I don't think that's completely lost.
People still get this idea of it's call me, but I just feel old because of all of the TikTokers now that are like, it would be a really good idea if you had like a phone that was just stayed in the house, like a cell phone that just stayed in the house, and everyone in the family could use it. It would be just so much nicer. And all the reactions were just like, that's just a landline.
That's just a phone.
That's literally just a landline.
It's just a phone. It's not a mobile phone. It's just a phone.
There we go.
Oh God, we're getting old now. This is sure. Who had the Razor? I had a Razor. They were sick.
I did.
They were mad. Actually,
my Razor.
My favorite one though was before that, the Samsung clamshell. Do you remember the Samsung clam? Yeah, just before that.
Yes.
So I went from the Samsung. I went from a Nokia to the Samsung clamshell, then the Razor. That were the ones I had. Yeah.
Wait. So kids do this for calling? That looks like sleep though. If you do this, it looks like sleep because that's
sleepy time. No, I've always seen this. Yeah, call me.
I've not. I teach Zoomers for a living. I've never and Al, I know you do too. I've never seen them do this as call me.
That's not going to sleep. I'm tired.
Yeah.
But they'll do that for call.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, let's go to the next
All right,
question.
so we'll do
another-
we'll do the next one in 25 minutes. So we'll do them about every half an hour till we're done, and that'll work out. Yeah, cool. Next one.
go ahead.
My aunt says, I don't know why I did it with a French accent there, but
Yeah, all right.
Concierge says, do you think Crusader will eventually have a starter package? Alternative.
Oh, well, we already talked about that.
We've just done that one. We hadn't.
We used that one.
But,
I just had
I think we could see them, but yeah. Dawn Steeler says, solid question. We'll drop a Hull C without tractor beams, I think, but the SRV hasn't even had downstream teams yet. That's a comment with a
I don't know if that's true or not.
No, I don't.
Because it's been on the it was on the final review for final art.
Yep.
Like 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't heard about it since. Usually they'll say like, oh, it failed its final art and we're going to redo something else, because they'll mention the monthly reports. It's done. Like it's completed. It's just a matter of if the tech is fully implemented, and they are currently working on the tech for tractor beams. They've mentioned it in monthly reports as well. I think the issue is more timing. Like, do they have enough time to get all that stuff working for 320, or they're going to do it for 321?
No,
so
absolutely agree.
What was the ship that Owen Batchelor was talking about when he was saying it failed its go no?
That was the
Santoki Eye.
Santoki Eye, yeah.
I couldn't remember. But
yeah, well, that's interesting, because probably the Santoki Eye and the Spirit series are both probably what CitizenCon or AIE, and then
I expect them to be there.
Man, if they leave that Santoki Eye to Alien Week next year, oof.
Mm.
That's 2 years though. We didn't get one this year. We didn't get one last year at Alien Week. So yeah, Alien Week's been very Spartan the last 2 years.
Shinobi,
the next question
statement, I believe. So speaking of small ships, I would love to see a light fighter from Kruger and/or an advanced starter from Crusader. Something with 8 to 12 SCU, so I don't have to fly to Origin for smuggling.
I'm gonna do this real quickly.
For smuggling.
Can we please stop the goddamn light fighters? I don't need any more motherfucking light fighters, please. No more, please. Please, God. Sorry.
I actually think you're kind of right there, Algared. Something small from Crusader that specialized in smuggling would be kind of cool to go along with the MSR vein, and it would be kind of cool to have a smuggling starter. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I could even see it being a history ship, going back to the old railway, because if I remember correctly, the founder of Crusader was actually
smuggled
in the smuggling people out of the UEE.
There you
go. I don't remember if he was or not. I know he was smuggled. He was smuggled out as part of it. But we also know that like the Star Runner, the Mercury was designed specifically to be a blockade runner. Mm-hmm. So having a miniature blockade runner would make sense as well, because cargo is Crusader's real bread and butter. Cargo and people moving is what they do. So,
you know what would be really cool though? I don't know. How would you feel about it having a small computer as well? So literally like a small MSR. So basically it's kind of like a Herald / smuggler, but it's got a very small amount of high quality data. Like just
like 4 SCU and one data bank or something like that.
Yeah. And I think the Herald's got 4 of them or something like that. I'd have to double check that, but it's got a few.
That'd be a step up from the Razor. Is it the Razor?
No, don't you mean the Herald?
No, the Raven. The
Raven does have one actually.
Misk Razor.
The fighter version with the
EMPs.
That came with
the Raven does have data banks, very small ones, but
because it was meant to be a data runner. I know people don't get it, but it was a data runner because it was linked to the hard drive, and so it was safe, secure delivery of and fast delivery of information.
What do you call the Comet runner? Or the asteroid runner. What do you call it? If it's a star runner, what do you call the smaller variant?
Priority transport.
No. You got to use the.
Well, they've actually dropped all of those ideas, like the Star Runner, the Star Lifter. They've dropped all of those, and they just call them by their name. So, like Hercules, Mercury. If you're using Mercury, you might say Cupid, or like a Seraphim, or like a Zephyrim, some kind of like angel terminology. You know,
we won't see Seraphim because that's their station, the new stations.
Yes. So but it'll be like the tiny like cherubim, maybe like a cherub, like a Crusader cherub would make.
I like Comet.
It makes
but
sense.
Maybe I'm just weird, but yeah, you're right though. They do need to stick to their
It'd be nice to see them do that. And I do think we do have a light fighter from Kruger. It's the P-52-72.
Yeah,
it just doesn't have quantum or jump drive, and you don't necessarily need that on every ship. I know it's almost sounds like heresy, but I would like to see more ships from Kruger or more things from Kruger.
Yeah, I think he's right actually. Sorry, first time chatter there in Twitch says Complex Alexander says, isn't Cherub or Seraphim white paint name for the Redeemer? I think he might be right there too. So yeah.
It might be, but you can say the cherub. The cherub is a classic mythological and both in Judeo-Christian kind of for like angels, and I think it's also used in some other stuff as well. So
the Gabriel or something like that. I don't know. You can take it any way, which way they want to take it. I think we can conclude at the moment most ship names from CIG are just names. That's all they are. They are just names. They are terrible.
I would call one a data run. Just call it the Angel.
Yeah,
Angel in Greek is just messenger.
Makes a lot of actually works.
That's all an angel is.
Works well with Herald as well. Yeah, I can see that Angel. The Crusader Angel. That actually works really well. Actually, I can get behind that.
So yeah, the Greek for angel is just
as long as the ship is a donut like a Halo, and it just.
We finally get the UFO ship. We finally get the UFO ship.
It's just a ring, and it holds the halo. It holds the cargo inside the halo with like an anti-grav beam or something. Yeah, that'd be hilarious. Yeah, sorry.
Nova 42 says, "Is there any law for Levski to move system, or was it pure gameplay decision?" Yes, there was a law reason. Levski didn't belong in Stanton.
Yeah, it's a part of Nix.
Yeah, it belongs.
They put it in though because they had they had it kind of finished-y, and it was content for us to play with, essentially. That's why they put it in.
The original idea was that they were going to use Levski as a test for landing on planets or something to that degree. It was one of their like social module concepts. Like it was a social module. It was the second step of the social module after Area 18 and for ArcCorp. And then they decided, instead of releasing it as a social module, which there's a long explanation to what the social module was. They just released it as an in-game asset for 3.0.
And they said at the time that Stanton is our testbed. That was the time they went a big shift from Arena Commander being the testbed for everything to PU being a testbed for everything. And they said Stanton is our testbed. We'll put stuff in there, and eventually Levski is going to be moved out. But it was in there to fill up space, and as time went on, they needed to make more room. Because I imagine the data banks were overloaded, so we moved it out to reappear in Levski or in Nix at a later point in time. So,
yep. Alrighty, next question.
So yes, there is a law reason and an everything reason. It doesn't belong.
Next question is from Tom DeLorean, who asks, is there a capital ship coming from Crusader? No. I mean, there's the Genesis, which I guess couldn't possibly...
Jupiter as well.
There is a Jupiter.
Well, we don't know if the Jupiter is going to make it or not, because they said specifically they don't want to do the Jupiter. So.
Ooh, sorry. Doc Frost had a good name. Hermes. That would be a great. That's a good one. I like that one too.
That's basically the other name for Mercury, but I mean,
that's why it works.
I think. All right. Next question comes from Pagan Linux Geek, who asks, history question: is there an available history of the Reclaimer ship creation we can view? What?
He wants to know: is there lore about the Reclaimer, essentially?
I thought we already answered that and said no.
No, that was the Redeemer, not the Reclaimer.
No, they said the Reclaimer earlier.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they should know that they could.
Sometimes people post questions twice when they don't get them instantly answered. They're not used to our long-winded answers.
Don't think it was the same person though. So.
Yeah.
Silver Smile asks, question, with a huge backlog of large and capital ships, do you think there will be a no new concept capital until they get some of the backlog completed? Would that also mean yet more concept for small fighters instead? I don't think CIG wants to do more capital ships because I think they're kind of capped out on capital ships.
They don't have the big teams to do them yet. So the other thing is promising big ones like that they might not be able to deliver is kind of risky, especially when they've got things like the Kraken and the, what's the other one? The Polaris left to do and stuff like that. So they take a lot of time. I think they're deliberately waiting until they've got the teams in place to do them. That's why they've done a lot of small fighters, because you only need 1 or 2 people to pull something like that off. But when you go to something, let's look at the Polaris, 8 to 10 people minimum to pull that off within time, a timely manner.
Mm-hmm.
Good night, Tom. We're glad we got to your question before you had to go to bed.
Yeah. What was it? The Constellation took 2 people a year to do.
Yeah,
the last time
that was also
reworked.
a long time ago. Yeah,
wasn't it when they were breaking it into the damaged parts as well? So the head, the neck, the body, and the tail.
Yeah.
But let's say you broke that into those 4 pieces or the 3 pieces, whatever it is, and you had a person per piece. That you've got to work within a certain restraints. So yeah.
And then that worked for when they were redoing it. When forgotten who did it, but when he was working on the Phoenix, and he just did the midsection, the body.
That's it.
And yes, Complex Alexander, the Polaris is a capital ship. It's the smallest of the capital ships, because it's considered a corvette, whereas the other ones are considered subcap like gunships and such. So,
yeah.
I'm just going to answer this question right off the bat because someone answered the question. Has CIG started a new vehicle production team? Yes, they did in Montreal. That was 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago.
Yep.
We answered that earlier. So.
Happens a lot here. You get repeated questions because people start thinking of the same thing along the same lines. Happens here all the time.
And
Al, does that sound familiar to you, Al? I have no idea what you're talking about. Like you get the same question over and over again all day, every day for years on end.
Yeah. It's like school.
Yeah.
And just after you've explained it to them and say, "Sir, what are we doing?"
Yes. It's better when they have to do it to class and they ask the same question at every class. It's just like, well, maybe I'm not explaining it properly, but like it's so frustrating when it happens like 5 minutes after you explain it.
I always like parent-teacher interviews when you say something and the parent says, "That's what every teacher said." You go,
wow.
Oh, geez, you've seen it. Little Johnny's a pain in the ass then. Yeah.
Maybe we should put if all these teachers don't talk to each other and have the same opinion of your child, maybe there's something going on with your child. All right. Next question comes from Gore-Tex Fog, who asks, what ships would make up a typical UEE fleet? Like how many Bengals, Javelins? I actually know this question. The answer to this question. We don't have a full picture of it yet, so we don't have the full idea. But there was a reference that a typical fleet will be anchored by a fleet is huge. Like a fleet is massive, but each fleet can be made up of multiple like sub fleets. I think they're called strike groups for the UE Navy, and each strike group has something like one can be anchored by a Javelin or a Bengal carrier, which then also includes at least a squadron of destroyers, which is 3 Javelins, and then support ships like multiple Idrises and other ships. Like it increases as it goes through. So it's usually like 1 and then like multiples of 3. So if you have 3 just Javelins, then you would have 6 like Idrises and so on and so forth. And then you can break down those strike groups into smaller subgroups as well. So
I'm wondering how
there's no cut and dry, but it means that your typical UEE fleet is probably somewhere in the upwards of 5 or 6 Bengal carriers in them. So to give context.
I'm just saying, it'd be really cool to have like a law versus military show, like have you and Badgers like go off head to head. Clash.
Well,
law versus military.
These...
Look, because like, should they really have that many, or how should it be built? And I can tell you now, the things I've done with Essay when he starts talking military, holy shit, that guy he lays things out in like exactly how they're going to be in positioned and spacing and all crazy town.
Well,
how details he goes into.
I've talked to people about it. Like, for instance, the UEE naval structure when it comes to squadrons is completely different to actual naval squadrons that exist in the United States Navy, because the naval squadron is much smaller in the U.S. Navy than it is in the UEE Navy. They actually have a flow chart that they released a while ago with like how the squadrons. It's like I think 6 to 10 ships per squadron, or per flight.
Is that
and then there's like
guide stuff?
Yes, it is, and it's like I think it's 6 ships per flight. 4 flights per squadron, typically. So which means that you would have about 20 or ish, 24, 22, 24 ships per squadron. So, and then you'd have, sometimes 5, 6, 10 squadrons on a javelin or not javelin, a Bengal. And, and then it kind of scales up from there. But like, there's much smaller, like, I think it's only like 12 planes per squadron in the U.S. Navy. But they have more variety and stuff like that. So, all right. Next question.
To chuck in a question, Boyd, did I hear correctly that the Pegasus is now back? Because I did at some point, but it disappeared as a ship they weren't doing, and I had heard that it was now coming. It was now another ship they were doing. So it's or the escort carrier.
They did this huge breakdown of all of the ships and all of the manufacturers in one of the jump points. And they mentioned like the Osprey and the Devastator from Anvil, which we only recently figured out what the Osprey is. By the way, the Osprey is I think it's a light fighter. That's the first ship that they ever made. They recently got released in the lore for that, for Anvil. But like they were still like concepts that didn't exist outside of like the references in the early versions. And but that same article did not say anything about the Pegasus.
Yeah, when they did the RSI ships when they redid the RSI portfolio and they were listing all the ships, the Pegasus wasn't listed there. But then it was after that, and that made Pegasus doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
and then there was I was hearing in Scuttlebutt that the Pegasus was back. So.
So what they did is then after that they released another thing on RSI ships and they added the Pegasus onto that list. So it was like they removed it from the list, and I was like, that's a pretty purposeful removal because like they're adding concept or like lore ships that we've never even heard other than the names for on this list. But then the one that actually has like work in progress art was not even mentioned under RSI, and it's like that's real weird. So.
Although the Pegasus was never a ship that was sold, it was just a ship they said, "Hey, this is one we're working on." So it was.
Yeah. But next question comes from Fishy2951, who asks, "Question: How much energy drink do you think they put in Montreal's maple syrup?" / joking. They put the cocaine in the poutine in Montreal. That's the joke.
They put the cocaine into the maples before they.
Exactly. Don Steeler asks, question, just a comment. I think the odds are high that the big, if you like the Pioneer mentioned, will have to do with the constructing asteroid bases. If I remember correctly, pretty much all of that Q&A that was leaked was false or misunderstood. So, because like straight up, they said, nothing from Theaters of War was going to be added into the game. That the Theaters of War is entirely shelved and isn't being worked on. And then like that same week, they're like, no, it's actually going into like production again in July. And we already knew that before that they were using the Theaters of War spawn system for the new Arena Commander, which had been mentioned like 2 weeks earlier.
I think
so. I wouldn't put any trust in any of that Q&A because it's either misinterpreted or misunderstood by the
I think you can
logically
think through too how the Pioneer works as well. Like its original plan to actually lay down and build within that confines. The advantage of it actually being a manufacturing ship that just makes the parts and you place the parts is drastically increased, because then you can put it wherever you want. If there's a hill or something like that, you can't land the Pioneer on a hill to build.
Yeah.
Where if it's just producing the Lego pieces, essentially, you can build it wherever you want. And so if they have like a curved surface, and if they have what those space stations that are like a tube, you could even have ones like that. So you're building on a literal, the inside of an asteroid or something like that. It just allows way more flexibility. I think that's why they've moved from base building to manufacturing, because it actually, when you work it through, it just makes it way more flexible if you build it and then just place it. I just think it's so much cleverer.
I think the general idea was, and that was a while ago that they said it wasn't just a base building.
Yep.
I think the idea is that it's not just like a manufacturing thing, but it also has some ability to help place down the like buildings and stuff like that.
Yep.
So there's going to be some advantage to it. But
even with the little landing pad on it, like if you can land an SRV there's no reason the SRV can't be placing the buildings as you're producing them, stuff like that.
Yep.
So, but essentially, it takes manufacturing ships from having to, like they 3D print the parts and make the parts on the more complicated parts. But even the most simplest one is literally just a respawn closet. Some form of light or beam or whatever, or a 3D printer inside there, and when it finishes playing that animation, it just opens and it spawns said item right in front of you. So it's just spawning items is piece of piss. Developers do it in code just to test things. So,
but
very easy.
But the question is, since the Pioneer is no longer just building, what's it going? And I think that's one of the reasons why we don't see it often on sale, because for a long while CRG weren't really sure where they were going. It was just nebulous. And
probably
so
why you still can't CCU to it, because I think they've got to come around to it again and be confident of what it's going to be, and then they'll probably allow us eventually to CCU to it. I do firmly believe eventually we'll be able to CCU to that, because you're meant to be able to CCU to any ship under $1,000. That's the only one that kind of breaks that mold.
Don Steeler Don Steeler also clarified that they think that the Rastar is going to be is what's going to be talked about. And I mean, we'll probably see Rastar, but Rastar is already in the game. CIG already uses Rastar to place everything down, so I'm sure they will. I don't know if they'll talk necessarily
out the 2 days. So
yes, that's how they're going to stretch that out.
They'll talk about all their new tools, the development of the tools they've got. I wouldn't be surprised if, hey, Rivertech is now doing roads, so we've speculated for ages. So that's just the rivers were literally a first step to roads and other stuff, because it's almost the same tech. It's just different graphics going down. So, by the way,
X, I think it's been time. It's been long enough that we need to do the next one. So.
Yeah, 3 minutes by my count, but we can do it. Let's go.
Okay. What I need to know for this one is, what's the name of this character? What movie did they come from? And what is the species of this character?
Ooh, a trifecta. I don't have the movie. I've got the species and the
I don't know.
This character single-handedly saved this movie for me. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
It was the only good thing in that movie. I swear to God.
Oh yeah. Oh yep. I got it now. Yep.
Can you see it again? Sure.
Yeah, you got to hold it up. Exterminate.
Yeah, some of y'all are getting close to it. Get the idea.
Yeah, Dawn Steeler's got it there. Star Wars techie dude that were tiny. Yeah, that really sums it up there. So you need the movie.
He has a name. So the character has a name, and it was first appeared in a movie.
Yep, someone's got it.
Star Wars movie.
Someone's got it. That's it, isn't it?
Yeah, but what movie? Which Star Wars movie? did he first appear in?
Yeah, I know which one it is, but I don't want to say.
They got to make the name.
First time chatter there on Twitch? No?
No.
That's correct.
He's right. This is the species.
There we go.
the Anzellan-
Someone got it. Someone got it. Is it?
Yeah, but did they get
Oh,
everything
no,
else?
no.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, Doc Frost got it. Doc Frost got it. So
Yeah.
Doc Frost has got it. Yeah.
No,
This is Bobby Frick.
the guy before him got it. Complex Alexander. He said the same thing.
Oh yeah, it was when Complex
Yeah.
Alexander got it first. Yeah.
So Complex Alexander.
Yeah, Rise of Skywalker, which was a garbage movie, but my wife got this as a gift for me because Babu Frick, who's voiced by the same, I forgot who. It's a famous voice actress voices Babu Frick. I want to say she did Tommy Pickles from the Rugrats or something like that. She's an amazing voice actor who's done a bunch of stuff like that. And then it is again, the only good thing about that movie is Babu Frick.
Yep. All right, so we've got 2.
All right, one more to go, and then
And then those 3 go into the draw to see who gets the.
and then there'll be a tiebreaker just between those 3. That's always the most difficult one because people see it and they know what it is and they want to say it, but they're not the 3 people that can go into it. And we have some random dude just wouldn't go, oh, it's this and this, and then they ruin the whole thing. We've had that happen once or twice.
Yep. Live.
But that that's the way it rolls.
Buchich has a question.
Yep, go for it.
Buchich says, "What's everyone's guilty pleasure ship? Like the one that really doesn't fill a role in your fleet, or there's a ship that does it better, but it's a ship you just have to have. 400i for me, is what he says."
I guess 600i would be mine. I don't really use it for anything, but
when the Fortuna was on, I did actually enjoy flying that 400i. It was a bit of fun, but it just didn't do anything. So I can see why you'd like that. But I've had that with other ships too. Like I've enjoyed flying, Razors. It changes good to a holiday. I think that's the best part about some of the free flies and things like that. You get to try out some ships that you don't normally get to try. Same at IAE and Invictus. There's nothing that really stands out. Most of the ships when I try them and enjoy them is just a simple A to B flight. And mine's change. So yeah, that's a tough one for me to answer.
Yep. I've always liked the.
Okay, so I was wrong about the actress who played Babu Frick, but I wasn't. I knew it was famous, but it was actually she plays Moaning Myrtle in the Harry Potter films.
Oh,
so
okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, Algared, your guilty pleasure?
Yeah, I like the 890, but a bit like you, I like it. I like flying most ships. I really like flying the cutter at the moment.
Yeah, I've enjoyed that too. Actually, the one I keep coming back to, and you'd agree with me on this, we've said this a few times, is the Caterpillar. Because of that weird flight mechanic that it has. Because you're right at the back and you're off to one side. And there's no other ship quite like that.
It takes a little bit of getting used to. My least favourite ship, I think, is the Mercury Star Runner. I don't know why.
Yeah, there's something, the stilts.
Apart from the steel, which is just a ship that's disgusting and horrible and should never have been made. It's an abomination. It's a worse abomination than the Ares. And I hate the Ares because it's an abomination. It's a bastardization of Crusaders' lore. But,
I'm actually going for 4 weeks, Paul. I'm going for 28 days.
Oh, 4 weeks. Okay. I'm just trying to answer people who are...
Yep, I see him multitasking.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be gone and then you're like, oh yeah, he's coming back. And then I don't turn up and you're like, what the hell's going on?
We'll be right. Sure. Orbital Exploit says, does, when questions allowed, or whether we answer them is another thing.
Well, you broke up there, Alex. When questions allowed? Yeah, you can ask when questions. We have no problem with that.
Well,
I'll answer them in the most. Yeah, I'll answer you in the most cheap. I'll answer them the way that Jake Bradley, Jake Acapella, likes to answer them, which is he'll put a date that's specifically like a week earlier. So like when you ask Jake when is such and such coming out, he's gonna say like if you asked him like when is Squad 42 coming out? And he'll say July 1st, 2023. Deadpan's face, like straight in your face and say that. Because
my view would come from working in the book trade. So when I was at uni, I used to work in the bookshop, and we'd get, the textbooks that come in. And if you were ordering a book, normally it would take, 2 weeks, but we'd always say 4. Always. Unless it was a book from Canada. If it was a book from Canada, it was like never. Because it would take at least 6 months for a book to come from Canada, just because of the way their system was. But yeah, so if I think it's 2 weeks, I'll say 4 to 6. If I think it's 2 years, I'll say 4 to 6. So yeah.
For our younger viewers that are watching, books are the internet printed on pieces of paper and bound together. Yeah.
They look something like this.
Yeah.
This was going to be one of mine, but they look something like this, where you have a little paper that with like words on it and like images and stuff like that you can read.
Yeah, non-moving, like not like the internet.
You have to move them yourself,
and you scroll sideways, not up and down. Yeah,
not up and down.
Yeah,
scroll sideways. That's right. All right.
All right. Next question comes from Mick.
Where do you put the battery in the book? Yeah.
C. McD asks, if you get a CCU that includes gear and you upgrade that CCU later, does that gear get lost in that upgrade or does it stay?
No, it stays. It's all added.
It stays. Yeah, it's just added. It's an add-on rather than a replacement, because it only replaces the ship, not the everything else.
That's
so
correct.
like if you had like the Weekend Warrior package, which is the old Super Hornet one, and you upgraded the Super Hornet to something else, you still kept the package. You just added the ship changed, so the cat package would still show up. So.
Do you remember when we were talking about different levels of insurance? You can actually go in and you can see all the multiple times that the insurance has been added. I've got one that's got like 10 different versions of insurance. Like it's got LTI, 120 months, 120 months, 6 months, this type of thing. So you can actually have multiples in the one package.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, Nux Outcast says, do you think we will get a wipe with 320 because of the exploits that are being...
More than likely.
My view is expect a wipe every patch, and then you're not disappointed.
That's it.
If you don't get a wipe, awesome. But if you get a wipe and you're expecting a wipe, what does it matter? That's just... Yeah,
I'm the same.
I mean,
I applied for it, and I'm not disappointed.
I will look you straight in the eye, dear viewer, and say, you shouldn't be playing Star Citizen like a game. You shouldn't be playing Star Citizen like a game that you're going to main for probably another year.
Yeah. Because
I would not expect anything but instability between now and post 4.0. It's just because the game is like this is like. It's like growing pains. Like we're at the point where like you're in the awkward adolescent stage. Like CIG, like Star Citizen should be reaching its final height, but right now you're going through like muscle cramps every morning. Your voice is changing constantly, and you're doing stupid shit. Like that's what Star Citizen's at. Like in terms of the level of growth. Once it gets beyond that, you still got a lot of stuff. It's still got a lot of stuff it's got to add in, but no longer is it that fundamental stuff that breaks everything. It's going to fuck up every 3 months. So.
What happened with Pez too? Like I'd be expecting the same, if not worse, again with static server meshing when it comes in as well. So yeah,
so just expect a wipe every patch, and if it's not a wipe, then great. And if there is a wipe, doesn't matter. Nothing matters.
If you can't. Yeah, and if you can't deal with that, if you're like, I just spent 14 hours or 150 hours grinding everything up, it's like it's not really there. Like there's always that possibility it's going to happen. So,
yeah, get used to it.
Well,
it's a disappointment.
We are now an hour and 40 minutes behind in questions. Right.
Yes. We go pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So, where did that quote come?
So, Medic Sans Guarantee says, so if I apply a CCU or something that, say, has 120 months insurance, it can override my current starter pack Aurora with 2 months insurance. That is correct. If the CCU has the insurance attached to it. not all CCUs have
Yes.
insurance attached to them. Though. They are fairly rare these days. But
What
yeah,
happens is the higher insurance takes precedence.
every time. All right, next one. Michael Taylor says, question, with the implementation of master modes, will weapons only get the buff, or will we also see armor and stealth for ships? Armor
It's hard to tell.
Armor is not there yet, and stealth
Yeah,
is more scanning based. So no,
Yep.
I would say no for the final two.
Yeah.
I would
so-
say with master mode, we'll get balance, not buffs.
yeah.
It's more
well-
flight stuff. It's not
Yeah.
really armor and
But if you're
stealth.
It's
if they're adjusting the weapons, it's not. That might be it might be an increase, but if anything, it's a balance. It'll be aligned with where they're supposed to be. So, and when we get we'll get a similar adjustment. So,
we are rapidly approaching 9 a.m. here in Australia, and Algared is just going to like slowly melt into. We had this yesterday too, didn't we, Paul? Where it was,
yes.
yeah.
All
So
right.
you're starting
question.
to break up a lot, Algared. Just so you're aware.
That's why we're going to get through this pretty quickly.
Yep.
Nova A42 asks, what are the odds that the Fly with Ease is an alien Vulcan / Crucible type ship that falls between the two? I think very small, but
Ooh,
that's
okay.
I don't think it's a high chance, because I don't think CIG, because they even said like they would need to completely design how does an alien manufacturer, how does an alien do like refuel and rearm and like salvage and mining. They talked about this in one of the Star Citizen Lives, where it's just like they don't know that yet. And so if the lore team's like, we don't know that yet, I wouldn't expect anything but like trade and combat from alien ships for a while, probably years. So I think any idea of an alien industrial ship is just, clickbait and hopium at this point.
But we did, when I was talking about that new ship, the
Sulian.
with the fly with these, the Sulian with fly,
Yeah.
suggesting that it could be a repair ship, but I think it's more, if anything, it'd just be a refuel ship or a resupply ship. But yeah.
Which goes in line with Pyro too, Paul. We also did have the Crucible on the roadmap as well. So making another ship that works with the repair makes a lot of sense, because then they can probably use that as the test bed rather than the Crucible or the Vulcan, and then go up and down to the Vulcan. We know they like to go in the middle and then go up and down.
I still doubt that's going to be an alien ship, though.
Yeah.
That'll be something else. That'll be another human ship.
If it was an alien ship or it would be a Xi'an ship built for the human market. In which case, using the human tech for that refuel.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of 6 of one, half a dozen other, but
I think at that point that's just stretching it. That's a reach. That's a huge reach based off of everything we've heard in the past. It's like I think that's just but maybe it's like, yes, I could also be the King of England. Like there's lots of maybes coming out,
Yeah, we'll see.
Also, do we have any lore with the Fly with Ease? No, there's no lore for the Fly with Ease. It's literally just a leak.
It was just a leak.
It might have even just been leak bait too, because they've started doing that. Because like we've now had 2 ships that were in leaks that never came out: the MCV, the Argo Starter, and we also had the Sulian, and neither of them turned up. So maybe that's what they do now. Every patch they're like, oh, just make something up and chuck it in there to distract them. Make them look like liars, so people don't believe what they say. So
Disinformation is the thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Hutich asks, info for Paul. You can get blue light filter prescriptions. Mine are coming in next week. And if I can get them where I am, you can definitely get yours in the US. Okay, cool. So,
You did talk
Jared
about
Bear
that,
asks,
you did talk about getting those.
yes.
Yeah.
Because I have to go out this month and get, because these glasses are like 6-7 years old, maybe even 15 years old. I don't even know. I think I had them when I was in college, which was 15, 20 years ago. So they've survived well, but I need new ones. But my prescription isn't that bad. So I just need to get like one for work, one for home. And I figured like a blue light would be nice to be able to do stuff like this.
Man, imagine if he lived in a place that wasn't free and you could get free glasses like every 2 to 3 years. Wouldn't that be amazing?
I would.
Man, listen, Listen, I have the right to the
Bear
freedom
arms,
to pay
that's about
out
it.
my ass for freedom to pay out my ass for medical reasons, and then also blow up my hand and with firecrackers, and or shoot myself without having to ask the government if I can shoot myself in a shooting accident. Freedom. Jer Bear asks.
Firecrackers in Australia, you just have to go to Canberra to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Jer Bear asks, "What will the items in the war bond items upgrade with the stat?" Yeah, we already said that. You answered yes. That is true. Fishy asks, question with bounty hunting 2.0 and cargo being hinted at, what gameplay do you think those will unblock after implemented? Like what gameplay will bounty hunting and cargo? I mean, I think the answer is the question is more what will needed to come into the game in order for those two things to come in. Mm-hmm. You know, like bounty hunting is not going to be, here's a god marker, go to this location and shoot this person. Mm-hmm. It's going to be, this is the person's last known location, go there, investigate, figure out where they went, and then, you know, chase them down, find out who they are, disable their ship or knock them out, and then drag them back to alive, because they said this for a while, that the only way you're going to get a bounty is for a live bounty, and now they have a lore reason why, because that person can just regen if you shoot them, so you're basically doing nothing but like the equivalent of shooting their ship.
Yep.
You know, when you kill them,
you let them get away because they go to a respawn place.
Yeah.
And they did say the capital docking collars also in pivotal to bounty hunting. Apparently they have some. You can see that in the latest ISC, they had where you land and stuff, and they've obviously where you drop off bounties are on capital docking collars. They are the same type of place. So yeah, but everything Paul said is right. Bounty's got to be alive.
Oh, well, that's my point. It's like I don't think we're really going to see gameplay unlock because of it. I think we're going to see gameplay needs to happen before those can even be added to the game. I think the only one that we wouldn't necessarily get off the top of my head is like cargo missions. That's going to require the what's it called? The dynamic economy
might
to be
get
added in
some
there.
really basic ones, because you need them to work for the Hull C. Otherwise, the Hull C's got nothing to do, because the Hull C is essentially space locked because it can't land on smaller places. So I think you will get some kind of missions to go with them, but they'll just be from station to station type of thing. Yep. You know, and it might be like pick it up at Microtech and deliver it to 4 different stations or whatever. You know, just different versions of box missions essentially for the Hull C, but only at stations, because otherwise it just doesn't work. There's nothing it can essentially do. So it needs something to do. And
you'd also have the ability to buy your own stuff and put your own money on the line and sell it at other stations. But
that's it, isn't it? That's all you can do then. Oh, I guess you're right. You could technically do that without it, but man, it's going to be pretty boring.
Well, for some people, that is what they enjoy. But yeah, I think in the long run, doing that day in, day out would be
different if you're going across multiple systems, but when it's just from inside Stanton, that is pretty boring. I think I'd hope that they would add some missions, you know, for a bit of variety, but we'll see. But yeah, Paul is right. They can go either way. Now I think about it. But yeah.
Yep.
Right. Next one.
All right. Next question comes from
Psycho.
Is it worth trading a C2 for a 600i if you already have an MSR and a glaive?
C2 for 600i, MSI and a glaive.
Is this in price? C2 and the 600?
No, the 600i is more, but what it essentially is saying is I've got an MSR, which is a cargo / data runner and a combat ship, and I've got I've got a C2, which is another cargo ship, but just bigger, and it does vehicles, and I want to change that into which 600i? I assume it's the Explorer or the Touring, either, it doesn't really matter. I don't know. It really comes down. This is a fix my fleet question, Algared, isn't it not?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I was looking at that, I'd probably 600i gives you luxury, but it's also a big lot of cargo now. So
do you know what I would do, Algared? I'd upgrade the glaive, not the C2. I'd upgrade the glaive. The glaive.
Well, then you don't. then he doesn't have a fighter ship. I see where he's going.
The Glave's too
but,
expensive though for what it is.
Yeah, it is expensive for what it is, but but I think the 600i is a better cargo ship in some ways because we know the cargo's increased on it. We know in lore that the 600s were originally cargo ships, but they were built to deal with a lack of cargo ships.
I think the safe response is get a CCU and sit on it.
Yeah,
and if you like the rework, then make the jump. If you want more in-depth question, reach out to me in Algared and we'll do a fix my fleet when I get back with you. If you're interested in that,
we'll have a mountain of those ready to go when you get back.
Yeah. If you can get Paul or Badgers to do a fix my fleet, I'll fucking eat my hat. Yeah,
I've done one other than my
did your own.
And I did another one as well.
You did mine.
Yeah, I think I did yours as well.
My fleet, it was kind of a.
All right, next question comes from Falero, who asks, do you think the Vanguard series are good for bounty hunting? The Vanguard S2 size 2 cannons do more damage than standard size 3s, so the pilot has 1 size 5 and 4 size 3s. But the issue is
Vanguard's
transport.
a really good ship right at the moment for a singles person. It is really good for bounty hunting missions at the moment. It's quite tanky. Absolutely right now. Will that be the case going forward? Wait till Armor comes in. We've got no idea. There's just so many things that are going to change the game between now and release. Right now, awesome. Yeah, that's the short answer.
Yeah. Is the Arrow any good? Well, yes, at the moment it's good, but what's it going to be like down the track?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's get through these because we got a lot of them. Tree0311 asks.
Just so you know, we've still got another hour and 10 minutes, Paul.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's fine, but like at the same time, we're an hour behind. An hour and 10 minutes behind.
Well, if we don't get them done, we don't get them done. That's just how it happens. You know?
Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to answer all of them or not.
We try to answer them all, but if we don't get them, we start to fall asleep, or
something happens.
Sorry, guys, and we do close the chat
the bot
before we're ending, so the bot does switch off, and we do close questions down, so it increases the chance.
But if people are taking time to ask a question, we like to take the time to answer it as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
yep.
That's the
Some
advantage.
Of these are also pretty quick to answer.
Yeah, but that's also the advantage of the bot, though, Paul. You can go as detailed as you want. That's Paul doesn't have the bot that we have, so he's just used to like, oh shit, I gotta read because it's on the screen. Go quick, mother.
Yeah, I've got to go quick because it's on the screen before it disappears. Thank you, Daisy Psycho, for the $5 super chat, and he says, "Cheers, guys. We'll definitely contact you guys. What is the best way? The best way is to contact us on our Discord."
Yeah, I would say contact Algared because he usually sets up the times and stuff. So contact Algared, especially because I'm about to go away too. So and he'll get that sorted out for when I'm back. Yeah.
We'll sort out a time that suits when X is back, or if Paul wants to do a fix my fleet, I'm quite happy for us to do a fix my fleet with.
If you want to record one while I'm away, go absolutely nuts.
If
you end up with multiple 600i and Drakes, don't blame me. Right, that's all on Paul.
Tree0311 though asks, has this been asked? Predictions for the unannounced and/or CitizenCon ship releases, flyable in concept.
I think we kind of hinted. No, it hasn't been asked, but I think we kind of have hinted at it a little bit over the day. We just look what's on the roadmap, and what's planned for release. And so you got the Spirit, and the Santoki Eye. And then everything else is just leaks and rumors after that. But,
the Storm.
Oh yeah, Storm. Yep. That'll definitely be there too. Yeah.
And then we've got the Nova, or not the Nova, the Fury, the new Fury variant, which we know is probably going to be in there from Mirai.
And
can I be honest though? After how lackluster the Fury hit, do you think anyone gives a shit about the Fury LX at all?
If it's a racer,
it's like
if it's a racer.
Have you seen those little party poppers? It's like that. That like it's like 3 sprinkles of sawdust just go poof. That's it.
If it's a racer, people enjoy it. Then we also have
the. It is fairly large.
I'm not talking about it being a racer. I'm just talking about it as the ship itself was just. It was like hype, and so many people. Like I was telling people, I said, you're going to melt this thing so quick when you realize what it is. And that's what happened. Heaps of people just melted it or upgraded or used an LTI token because once you realized it couldn't warp anywhere, it just became mature. Like how many streamers were going, But how many streamers are going out like just filling their ships full of oh, look how many of these you can fill in. It's amazing. And then like a week later, it's too much effort because it just took so long to get it to where it needed to go. Until you can spawn them in your ship.
Yeah.
It's
until you can actually set them in your hangar and go, yep, I want that in the hangar, on the Moby Glass or however. Loading ships onto a ship's hangar is a pain in the butt.
Paul, what's your because I know I don't know if I've asked you this, if I have, stop me, but what I called the bosun, the mothership concept of the Fury, how do you feel about that? Do you think there's some kind of mothership for the Fury?
I don't think there is, but I think there could be. Like, I think it's definitely something that they could do if they really wanted to.
There is no snub that doesn't have a mothership in the game currently, besides the Fury now.
The MPUV.
No, that goes to the Idris and it goes to the Javelin.
It does, but it doesn't necessarily have a bespoke like feature. But I think it's just mostly just aesthetics because they want to make it look cool. So they gave it kind of like a bullet shape.
We do know that from the Q&A they did talk about them talking about small snub fighters for the D and the E, the whole D and E.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, true.
So I did talk about that in the Q&A.
Maybe that's it then. Maybe this is just something for the whole D&E and that's it. It's nothing else.
I could definitely see. I could see like some bespoke cargo container that is designed to hold Furies because it is made by effectively the same company. Between the Misk and Mirai. So
I got a side question. Go ahead, Algared, if you want to.
I was going to say, but I could see the racing variant has to be because of the Mirai company. They built it as they launch it as a racing branch, high tech branch of Misk. And what's the first ship, the official first ship we see them produce? Fighter.
Yeah.
You'd have almost expected the racing one to be first and then the fighters to be the variants that came after. But no, it's so yeah. Anyway, your question.
Yeah, Mirai did mean future, didn't it, in Japanese? But anyway, so a question to both of you, and I'll ask this to chat too. This just came from my thought process. If you could meet any one dev and kind of pick their brain, who would it be? I'll let one of you go first.
Probably. Why am I blanking on his name? He's the head of the PU. He has women eyes.
Tyra? Or no?
No.
He's
Tony Zervik.
Tony Zervik, yeah. Not Tony Zervik. He's the head of the PU. Todd Pappy. Yeah. Probably Todd Pappy. Just because
Todd Pappy, Poppy Dog Eyes.
Yes, he's the one who has people love Tony Zervik and Chris Roberts, but those are idea guys. They have ideas and what to do. Tony Zervik is the person. Todd Pappy is the one who has to implement all of those ideas. So he would know more about the ideas of what's going where in the PU, which more people would be interested anyways. So,
what about you, Algared?
My first thought was Chris, just because. But yeah, I could see Brian Chambers.
It's the hair, Algared, isn't it?
You're
jealous.
Yes. Yep. Well, what they say, God only made so many perfect heads.
Yep.
The rest he put him.
Yes. For me, it's John Crew. I would love to sit down with John Crew and pick his brain. It'd be just a really interesting conversation because a lot of the design cues he's done, and it would have been the same thing. Forgetting the guy's name that just left, as well. Paul Jones.
Paul Jones.
It would just be to learn the little intricacies of why they make certain decisions they make and stuff like that for me. So yeah, but yeah.
Did Paul leave over Carrick Keller?
No
more questions.
It's like Jay Lee left too. Jay Lee left because you're spending 10 years at a or close to 10 years at one company is unheard of in the video game industry. I don't know if you want to answer that question, X, because it's specifically for you for the next one.
Because John is giving you grief.
No, I'll skip that one. That's a loaded bomb. Okay. That one.
Yeah. Griffin, who just left, unfortunately, asked, would love to hear your thoughts on the revenue generation by Cloud Imperium outside of Squadron 42 and Star Citizen to sustain the future of the company.
Well, someone can clip this response and send it to him for us when he's next on Soul Citizen. Algared, I'll let you take this one first.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on revenue generation by Cloud Imperium. I think they'll sell ships.
Yeah.
They'll have
every patch they'll have a new ship type of thing. Every 3 months they can just have a new ship. Once they've got enough people, that ship team can just keep pumping them out, you know. And if you kind of look at what they do, they have a small, medium, large type of thing. They've only going to have 4 ships, you know. So if you have a vehicle, a small, a medium, and large every year, I can't say that as not being sustainable.
And they'll have things like armor packs and weapons and the small things in the store which you can buy.
And you'll be eventually be able to get them in game for free, but what you're essentially paying for is 6 months exclusivity. You know, we're kind of seeing that already. Like when the Rock and that came out, it was 3 months, and they saw nobody was buying it, so they extended it to 6, and they got more sales. So that's why they've increased it to 6.
Even just that convenience idea. You know, Chris always said we'd sell UEC always on the market, so for people who are time poor, can keep that up. And now the advantage, people will say that's pay to win. No, it's not pay to win, because you're getting the stuff, but you don't necessarily have the skills.
Still need the rep, and you still need all that type of shit as well.
Whereas if you're grinding your way up because you've got time, you're gonna be better at using the ship, fixing the problems, building the rep, etc. So there's a advantage. There's pros and cons of both, but Chris has always wanted it to be a game that would be suitable for people like him, people who work and don't play all the time.
Griffin's still there. Griffin, give us your answer too, man. If you're interested to hear your I most likely won't be able to make the Bar Citizen, Griffin, because I'm going to be away. But I hope you guys have a good one there.
But
I really enjoyed it last time. Yeah, send a link to Algared, because he definitely will turn up and represent. Paul, do you reckon you're going to be able to make it to that? July 12th, I think it is for you.
Possibly.
Yeah,
possibly.
it was really good, and I got a lot out of it. Not being able to, like, because I'm in a more remote area, it was like being at a Bar Citizen. Like, everyone in the room, you just chill. It's a massive Zoom call, right? But it is just really cool that you're there with a whole group of your peers, and it was just really, really cool. And get to rub shoulders with normal people, so to speak. And I don't mean to say normal people, like, we associate with a lot of content creators, right? So you got it getting that lens of thing. So when a normal person jumps on and they've just got this totally different opinion to you, it was really eye-opening for me, and I learned a lot. And I dragged Algared along to the next one.
One of the things that in the one I was at was when Brian Chambers was talking about the mocap.
Yeah.
And he was saying they had the mocap, and I asked a question, and I said, so is it as good as Imaginarium? And he said, it's better. What we've got now leaves Imaginarium for dead. Yeah. And it makes sense, because their new mocap studio is in Manchester, is new. It's got all the new tech, whereas Imaginarium is
a couple of years old.
20 years ago, and they're updating. But yeah, so and it was interesting to know that if I remember correctly, he said that was the kind of area he came out of as well. So he was into that. So that was his background as well. So that was kind of eye-opening as well as interesting. So yeah.
That's the other thing. Brian Chambers actually turned up to that last one too. So yeah, some of the devs do turn up. Tyler turned up. Did Disco turn up? I think Disco turned up as well.
Disco is interesting. I'm sorry, Galactica.
Buster was there. Lots and lots of content creators were there.
Yeah.
So Griffin is asking specifically without Squadron or Star Citizen. So how are they going to raise money without Squadron or Star Citizen? And the answer to my answer to that is that's how they raise money. I can't see them raising money. I think the idea of them.
Does he mean new expansion packs? That's the only other thing I can.
No, like the idea of selling tools and tech. Like take the tech that Star Citizen.
All right.
I don't think they'll sell it. I think they'll either they'll. Why would you sell it when it creates more work for yourself? So you can just go, we have this engine. Oh, by the way, Disney will make a Star Wars game for you.
I could possibly, but I don't.
Because the engine's so
sell the tools.
The engine's so bespoke.
So bespoke.
It'd be like, giving rockets, like what do they call it, Starship to a 5-year-old and say, here, go to Mars. Like, they can't do that because they don't know how to use it. So the best way to do that would be get them to make things for other people. So honestly, way down the line, I can see a Star Wars game, a Star Trek game, a Stargate game. I can even see if the engine is good enough.
Made by CIG.
Exactly. Like things like even like a Battlefield. Like think about Battlefield, and it go like it's the entire Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would be just nuts.
Here's the thing. The thing about the tools is that CIG would have to perfect the tools in such a way that they could work without all of the other tools that they use.
Yep.
Because we're not talking about like a tool, like the Rastar tool is an example. The Rastar tool helps them make new things, but the Rastar tool isn't the thing that allows them to build settlements. And there are other tools that they've developed that will work with the Rastar tool and other things that, like the Rastar tool has to work within the procedural generation of the planets, the CIG. Like all of the tools that CIG is making for Star Citizen are tools that work with like interlocking. They interlock with one another to function for what they do.
Just real quick, Buggy in chat saying, what's happening? I'm out of the loop. So basically the question was, can we think of other funding methods that CIG would do that don't include the selling of Squadron 42 or Star Citizen? That's to bring up to speed. Yep.
The only thing I can think of is renting out their mocap studio.
Yep, that's a good one.
Because they've got a mocap studio. That's probably the best way to make money, and they can make a lot of money doing that.
That stretch goal actually got filled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think the $10 million stretch goal was to have their own mocap studio. So
they eventually want to make their own BlizzCon, so maybe that's a way. Right. That's another nightmare for another time. Right. Next question.
I could even see board game.
All right.
That's been floated around a few times.
Next question comes from
Ray Lauderhubuck.
Who asks, since Paul is there, why doesn't the Redeemer, a combat ship, have more egress points? Because it's poorly made. It's a terribly made ship that has bad design. We talked about this in an entire video, which may come out at some point, where we said like
the made to be even better, but.
Yeah, it just needs side doors. It needs doors like the Cutlass to be able to make it, or even like the freaking Prowler to make it more functional. It's poorly designed. It's not designed as a ship.
It's a competition winner. That's it.
Yep.
And any problem with that competition winner.
Real quick, Paul. It's time to do another one. Because we've actually
okay. This is the last one,
8
right?
minutes. Yeah, this is the last one. No, the second last one. The last one is the tiebreaker for all 3 people.
Okay.
The second last one.
This, I'm going to say, I'm counting on 3. I want to know, what event did this come from? And I'll say, what CitizenCon did this come from? Because it's a CitizenCon thing. And I want to know, it's in reference to something in game, and I want to know what's the company that owns this product.
So what it is
in game,
and who makes it.
Yeah, like what CitizenCon did it come from, and then who makes the actual product that this is aping in game. 3, 2, 1.
The CitizenCon eludes me, but I know
the company that this is from.
Yeah, it's got that name.
I think I know.
It's right on the tip of my tongue, but the CitizenCon eludes me.
Okay, so Big Benny's is correct, but the CitizenCon's wrong.
Yeah,
Rao.
Yeah, it's a lot earlier than that.
So what did they say?
19.
I said 19.
Yeah, it's a bit earlier than that.
This is an official CIG merch. Like this officially was given out to people.
I like that guy's answer. He goes, older than the first time I had SC. Because that's probably after people watching. There you go. On Twitch, 2015.
Nope.
2016?
It's newer than that.
Earlier than
that.
On Hootich says
Or later than that, I should say. It's later than 17.
2018.
Weasels says 18.
Okay, and Big Benny's, but this is the Big Benny's, but the Big Benny's is owned by a company in the verse. Who owns? Yeah, this is just a brand name. This is like the McDonald's of
Big food company. Big food company.
It's a company. It's a big food company, but it's not the name of it.
Yeah. So
who's
so
the
far
2018 version? So it's Wheels is the first one who got it so far.
Yeah, there
was Burger, yeah.
Yeah, Wheels is the first. So anyone beat Wheels on the?
Close, Griffin. I mean, that's technically correct, but I'm asking for like inverse. Like so, I said the inverse company. Yes. Okay. All right. Silver Smile's the first one to put them all together. Yep. 2018 CitizenCon Terra Mills. So yeah, Terra Mills
is Twitch
the one
or YouTube?
Yeah, Twitch.
What was his name? Sorry. Silver Smile.
Silver Smile.
Well, that's really fucking disappointing because nobody from YouTube got it. That's because everyone on YouTube is at work actually working.
And yes, Griffin Gamer said CitizenCon 2018, Austin, Texas, which is great. Texas Big Benny's food truck.
Food truck.
Yes,
which was true.
No,
that is in fact where that came from. But I was talking about the inverse company name that has it.
The inverse company.
Yeah.
And the inverse company is Terra Mills, who pretty much
that's it. Terra Mills. I had Mills, but I couldn't remember the first bit. Yeah. I had like grinding mills, windmills.
Originally Bremen Mills. That's right. Originally Bremen Mills. The bread basket.
And then Terra Mills bought it.
And then they're evil. Terrorists.
All right. So in about 20, 30 minutes, we'll get you 3 people. So Sandgroper, Complex, Alex, and Silver Smile will be on a Twitch. What do you call that? What's the word? Final showdown. What do you call it? Algared, what do we normally
Doc
call
Frost is saying Doc's saying he did it first, but Doc Frost, I don't think you said. I think he said Terra Mills before you did. Wait, no, it might be Doc Frost.
They want to know if they can do full screen. No, I can't. I'd have to build that bespoke. I don't have that built. Sorry, Sangroper at the moment. I apologize.
Hold on, I'm trying to see.
Yeah, I'm going.
Terra Mills. Yeah, Doc Frost did say Big Benny's owned by Terra Mills.
All right, so you want to change it?
But did he say 2018? I didn't see him say 2018.
Yeah, you got to have all 3 pieces. You got to have all.
You got a whole. Yeah, you just said you didn't say 2018. I don't think. I'm still looking through it.
3 pieces of the the law for it.
You did only ask for 2 though. You said who and
I said so you'd have to say, what CitizenCon was it from?
Yeah,
and then I also said what company owns it.
Yes, it'd be 2018 and Terra Mills. And you said he didn't say 2018, so yeah, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
So it's
I don't see him saying 2018 earlier.
Yeah. You actually didn't need to say Big Benny's because that was given. But,
All right.
It's like you say to your students all the time: read the question.
Yes. Answer the full question.
Answer the full question.
It's like we're all big kids and don't grow the fuck up. Yeah.
You don't listen to your teacher.
Yeah. My mum was a teacher. I didn't listen to her. She was a pain in the ass.
Yeah. See.
Do you know I once had her as relief teacher and I flipped rubber bits. My own mum. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
All right. Next question comes from MC Paladin. It's a statement. I want to salvage Fury. It makes 1 box that you can just drop on the other side. Yeah, I don't think salvage Fury makes a lot of sense. Not with it.
I could see a
Fury Fury's design too.
Tractor beams working as a kind of like an MPUV type transport. But why redo an MPUV?
Yeah, it's just a small SRV, isn't it? Essentially. Yeah. Yep. So I don't know. I think that's probably why we haven't seen a bigger SRV come along. It seems to be all that's really needed is the SRV, you know. So we'll see. And you got to think if there's only 2 sizes of tractor beams for ships, then the SRV kind of corners the market, and then all the other ships just have a normal tractor beam. So yeah, it's a Yeah, I just don't see it, just based on what they've said. So yeah. All right. Next
William
one.
Bridge
Who?
has a question.
I got the next one.
D or E? Pick one. Hull C, D or E? Which is the best?
C. I guess.
That's a tough one because it really comes down to what you want to do. The E is going to be the rarest. The C is probably is by law. These two will tell you that the most common ship in the entire game. So if you want something rare, E. Yeah, I guess that kind of covers it. Complex Alex, thank you for the Twitch Prime subscription. Appreciate it, mate.
Yep. Eminent Shadow, we've kind of answered that question about Warbond CCUs with armor.
Yep.
Yep.
Next question comes from Ruffle and Insanity. Astro, tell us how you'd fix the freelancer. I mean,
You'll
I
have
can
to
tell
wait.
you the very
You'll have
answer.
to wait for the episode. Go for it. You can
Yes.
You can tell me.
Have a look. Yep, you have.
The answer would be to it's a 2 to 3 player ship, so you don't need to have 4 seats at the front. So rip those 2 front seats out. Expand the beds out. Yeah, take out the 4 beds. Only have to have 2 beds, and then expand out the kitchen area and like that sort of thing to give it a little bit more functionality, and make that a completely separate thing from the cockpit. So it's a completely separate portion of the ship. I think it already kind of is. And then I would remove that inner area that's currently got like a docking port, and then just expand that out into further. Maybe turn that into like where the components are. And then
it's one of the reasons the ship is definitely getting reworked, because if it's got a docking collar, vertical docking collars don't work anymore. So every ship that's got one, like the Reclaimer, the Freelancer, even the Caterpillar's got one. Every single ship that has a vertical based docking collar needs a rework.
Connie has vertical based docking collars. I think
No, it doesn't. They're on the side.
They've got them on the side.
Yeah.
Didn't it used to have one at the top as well?
It does still.
Maybe
still
it does. I don't know, but I know it's got one on either side.
It
also has one on the top.
If I go to my model,
they'll just remove that then and just keep the 2 side ones.
The difference is that one is designed as a vertical docking port, which is the reason why it's its own little sectioned off area that also has cargo. Yeah. But you wouldn't be able to get cargo through that area anymore. So it's like that whole thing needs to get removed or changed. So
and that was mainly made for AI because they it just made it simpler for AI because then they didn't have to code them doing all that shit.
It's like my argument as to why the crouch tunnels in the MSR aren't crawl spaces, because AI got caught up when they're crawling.
Yeah, because you go longer, and the footprint for crouching is exactly the same as standing, so it made it easier because they'd have to rewrite a whole nother subset just for crawling, where when it's ducking and then it's not that different.
But it means it means you've got to be higher rather than lower, so it puts it on stilts. So yeah. Jonas 2000 has a question. Well, not really, but the reason to put FPS gear into those Warbond packs is because of the Foundation Festival. It's supposed to be your full starter kit, Vulture with handheld salvage gear. Yep.
Makes sense, but I also think it's a bit of a sweetener. Maybe they're trying something. I don't know.
Yep.
I do think that's something they'll need to do in the future to justify, because I could see a future where the 100i and the Aurora and the Mustang and a lot of those and like the Titan are all in the same options. So you choose one of those ships, but if you choose those ships, you're going to have a reason to not just choose the Titan every time.
Yeah.
If they're the same price.
To balance out what it is you're doing and that gear to suit with it, and it makes sense.
Might even become a part of the insurance. So when you die, you respawn with a certain suit, things like that. So it's not just always the little beacon suit. Yeah. All right.
Next question comes from Bucks86, who asks, when do you think the players will be released? July 4th, 2023.
There you go.
So that's when it's going to be released. I actually heard that directly from Jake CIG. You can message. Actually, no, Jake is actually kind of taking a leave of absence right now.
See this calendar over here, Paul? Right there. That date right there.
Yes.
The one I'm pointing.
Yeah. I see it.
You can see it. Yeah.
That one right there. Yeah, right there. I see it.
Oh yeah. Yep. Oh, wrong way. Yep.
All right, next question. Kaya Lau asks, question. In avocado test, they removed the advantages of tricording and 45 degrees, and they said that the Gladius shield will be front back form. What does this mean? I don't know. I don't know what half those words are. Tricording and 45 degrees.
Let me find it. Hang on.
Yep.
Tricording,
Certainly with
45 degrees.
shielding, they're talking. If it's a front and back form, it's got.
Yeah, shields.
Shield.
Yeah, it's just
rather
two
than
shields
doing
instead of
faces.
multiple faces. So that just means that
Yeah.
you have a front shield and a back shield, and you lose one, and then you can take damage. So essentially, if it's front and back, it's like two halves of a sphere essentially. So you could still technically shoot them from side on as long as you shoot them. Say you lose the front shield, as long as you shoot them at the front on side on, they'll still take damage. So a bigger ship becomes, the more faces it gets. So if you go to a constellation, as an example, it would then have 4 shields. So you have the 2 side ones and 2 backwards and forwards ones. It's the advantage of having a bigger ship.
Now,
More
I
shield
think-
emitters.
I think the only difference I could see in that is the fact that fighters, I think, were originally just going to be 1 shield, but I could be wrong.
I think they
I like the idea of front and back.
Isn't there some ships that just have 1 shield, or am I totally mistaken and the minimum is now 2? I remember you were right though, Algared. Wasn't it Snubs that just had 1?
I think some of the smaller ships only have 1.
Yeah, I could be
But
wrong.
they have
I
2
think you
faces.
might be right,
they
Algared.
have 2 faces, but they're. So
They are.
apparently, what chat is saying is that tricording is when you go in 3 different directions. You move in 3 different, like up, right, and forward to move like in that direction much faster or something like that. You're using 3 dimension or 6 degrees of freedom better. And like I guess like 45 degree angle is probably more like trying to keep yourself at a specific angle to try to.
So they've removed the advantages of that. So yeah.
Yeah.
And that was an old thing from back in the day. Do you remember bunny hopping at all? Either of you guys?
Yep.
So that would be like slightly turning and moving in certain ways. So you'd actually get extra speed, and you could actually. I can still remember the movement with my mouse. So it was almost like a figure eight.
You could literally break the physics, so you could go faster than the fastest limits. Yeah. So
I remember doing it in Counter-Strike with a Mac 10, and you just come into the room and go like that, and you just like headshot everyone in the room. And that was in 0.2 of Counter-Strike, the second release of Counter-Strike. Used to piss people off. Yeah.
Anything you hear that they're doing in Avocado or Avocadi is testing, and they'll switch things on and off for testing. They want to focus on X, they'll just make it so they're focusing on X.
So they are getting rid of that, essentially, is what they said. They're getting rid of that. So they're removing the perks of that stuff. Yeah.
If the question is, what does that mean? Then that's the answer is removing that. And that makes sense because CIG is fundamentally changing how combat works in Star Citizen. They've said that. They want to do that with master modes. It's part of the master modes program. So
I'd agree with that. Yep.
Next question comes from Rao, who asks, what grade will the FPS rifle type tractor beam have? 2, probably 1.
1.
Yeah.
If the handheld grey cat one we've got now is 0, that would be a 1. Ships would have a 2, and then the big heavy ones will be a 3.
Yep. So you'd have normal ships would have a 2, and the SRV would be a 3. That's it.
Yep.
And it's important to note that there will be some smaller ships. Like I'm pretty sure that the 315P will probably have a Type 1, a size 1 tractor beam. Some of the smaller ones will probably be Type 1. Like the Cutlass will probably be a Type 1.
Wait a minute. The next question literally says the C1 has an S3 tractor beam. Do you think they'll be able to tow the same size ship as the SRV? Yeah, if that's true.
No, they've already said that's a mistake.
Oh,
that was made before.
S2
that was made before the new sizing system. They said that.
Saying the the P15, the 315P has a size 3 mount for their tractor beam.
Yeah.
Does that but they've said they did come out and say we will make sure the tractor beams on the ships work at the way they were supposed to work, to the ability they were supposed to have. So it's just a game in development. Things are in flux.
Yeah. So most ships will have a 2. The exceptions are 3. Yep. Okay.
So a bunch of those were just not questions or even statements. They were just asking about questions. The next question comes from Mahalo, who asks, did anyone tell the monthly report has the word Maelstrom used twice in it? No, but I'd have to take a look.
Yeah. Was it monthly report? All right, I'll bring that up.
Squadron 42 monthly report is, I guess, what they're talking about.
Yep, but I don't think it's got what do you call it? I don't think it's on the website yet. I could only find it on the Oh, here we go. I lie. This monthly report? Is this the one he's talking about, Paul?
This one, yeah, it's the June one. Would be the one.
I'll flick us over. Hold on. This one. That worked. Yes, it did. All right, cool. Whereabouts?
Just do Alt F.
Maelstrom.
I don't know. Just do Alt F. Yeah.
There you go. Maelstrom editor. So progress with the cantilever beams for the Maelstrom editor. STROME. Yeah, so that's the tool. And the next one is the first iteration of it. Entity spawning based on mesh setup and CGAs was submitted, which was required for Maelstrom.
Which seems
That's
to me
just
talking
an
about
editor
the
tool.
Yep, agreed.
It's a tool.
That's the only two. So yeah.
Yep.
I wonder if
So,
that's a
I don't
troll
think-
then. I wonder if that Argo Maelstrom is a troll. Maybe it means it's an Argo test for Maelstrom for the editor.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Mm.
And things we find in code could very well, so
Very
just
well.
because we-
Sorry, Argo, you broke up. You said very.
it could very easily be that. It's
Yep.
just because we see code be a test something they're using.
Welcome to my world, Paul, where Algared breaks up randomly and you have no idea what the fuck he's saying. It's fucking brilliant.
I got what he said. He says it could just be a tool. It's just a tag.
Algared's a tool? I
Argo
agree.
tool.
Yes, Algared's a tool. I agree.
I just cry.
He
He still broke up.
He still broke up.
Oh.
Yes, it is that time.
Yeah.
Liberal
Holiday.
government. Yeah. Oh well.
I've got like 30 minutes before I have to go live anyways. So,
yeah,
like,
that's all good. That's all good.
Daisy Psycho asks. Oh no, those questions disappeared. No. For those of you who are wondering,
We're closing.
we're actually getting. Yeah, probably a good idea to close the bot.
That's fine. We'll do that. All right,
We got
closed.
plenty.
Yep.
For those of you who don't know, the reason why what we're reading from is a bot that we use that goes directly to our Discord. So like we have access to see it. Anytime someone types in the word question into either chat, we can actually see it.
Yep.
So
And it's even you can see which chat it comes from. It's really nice.
does this month's Rao asks from YouTube, does this month's subscriber upgrade also include FPS gear? I don't know.
It
I don't think
was
so.
the subscriber flare was just the mugs, was it not?
Actually, you looked at it, you pulled it up, and I don't think it did.
Yeah. I think he was talking about the SE, the CCU. Yeah. And I think
I
you
Hammerhead
did.
CCU, and we did pull that up, and I don't think it did.
Oh, he's talking about that?
Yeah.
All right, hang on.
Oh, look, mugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, Big
Very
Benny's mug. Oh!
Big money's mug.
A Star Kitten mug. too.
So we want shit upgrades,
That's-
and then we're going to go to Hammerhead.
That's the second time we've seen Star Kitten. I don't
Hang
think
on.
we've ever seen
No, Star Kitten is extremely rare at this point.
Mm.
So no, it just has Hammerhead name
The name
reservation.
reservation.
That's it.
Ooh.
So yeah, 12 months insurance.
All right. Next question comes from Mahalo, who asks, did anyone tell you that the new monthly report? Yes, we already answered
Yep.
that one.
Sorry. Skip.
John Flick C4 asks, who's leaving first off? Secondly, how do you guys feel about the monthly reports and the fact that they mention cargo missions and tractor beams? I haven't gone through all of the monthly report, so I can't tell you, but they've mentioned cargo missions and tractor beams in the past. They mentioned it at
And-
least.
And,
Yep.
and gamers don't read. I wait
Yes.
for Paul to make a video and then I watch it. Right.
But if you want to know more, you should
I'm
follow
kidding,
the
I'm kidding.
Astropub Live. Go to the Astropub Live, where every month I will read the monthly report and go over it word by word, so you know exactly what's on there, and to give you a little bit of my commentary to give you some more connections to know. If you did that, you'd know that the tractor beams has been mentioned at least 3 or 4 months in this year alone.
You're
about
doing that
more
later
content.
today, though, are you not? On your
Today,
yeah, in about an hour's
And-
time. So yeah.
Like, that is much better than a 5-minute dissertation of what the key points are in the monthly report, because people miss it. So if you go through and read the whole monthly report, you'll go, no, that person was wrong. That person was wrong. You've got to take the whole thing in context. You can't just go for a summary. Cheat notes don't work.
Al and I both come from a background which you have to understand is that, like, when you're dealing with a summary, it's what we call second or third hand accounts in history. And second and third hand accounts are not as reliable as first hand accounts. Even if first hand accounts is lying to you, you at least know that they're lying to you. Like you can like you're getting a first hand account from that event. So, and you can find out those other things. But with a second and third hand account, you're dealing with information that is filtered through at least one or multiple sources before it actually got to you. And there can be things, the game of telephone, things can be dropped, things can be changed, things can be altered. You don't know what's actually said. So the best source is primary sources. The primary source is the best option to understand everything. There's nothing wrong with summaries if you just want to get a basic things. But if you really are serious about wanting to know what CIG is doing, or if you really want to get mad about CIG doing something or not doing something that you really want them to, then you need to be informed. And the way to be informed is by seeing what CIG actually tells you. And a summary is not going to help you because you'd be like, I've not heard of the mention of the tractor beams being done. And it's like, well, it's been mentioned multiple times in several months. Yeah. So, but a lot of people don't know that because they don't read the monthly reports. So
I'll let you do those Twitch subs, Paul.
Yep.
Oh, thank you so much to Deathlord69 for that. What is that?
2 gifted tier 1 subs. Yep. And M Walker,
to M Walker and Vincent Chopper. Yeah.
I probably should get around, like, I don't know, because trying to do this over 2 streams, right, I've not wanted to have notifications from the other be flooded onto the other. So if I have Twitch stuff come up, it's going to annoy YouTube people, and if I have vice versa. So I've kind of tried to keep it all clean, right, and we'll just mention it instead and move on. So I think that's the safer way to go, because, you know, if it's really bugging you on Twitch that your little thing doesn't come up and goes, you've subscribed or whatever, let me know, and we'll probably look at that. But I'd rather keep this clean. You know, and
quick, because already closed the bot. Dan Hornbach asked a question about new Star Citizen downloading for the first time today. Question is whether my 6-year-old rig can run it decently. GTX 1070, 32 gigabytes of RAM, i7 700 HQ. You'd be okay.
you better play it.
I did have it running on a GTX 1060, I think. Hang on, let me have a look.
So you can. The graphics card isn't going to be really your bottleneck. It's going to be your RAM and make sure you have it on SSD.
Yeah, SSD is the big one. Absolutely.
SSD. Yep. No.
Oh, and the last question from John Flick, who's leaving? First off, it's X is going to be gone for a month. So this is last time you'll see X outside of. We made a bunch of videos ahead of time, so it's ready to go. But you will not see X live. He will not be available. He's going off the Philippines for 28 days.
Yeah. So as of after today, it's AI. It's not real. It's just an AI generated version of me. Yep.
Yep. We've got Jack Chap doing the the picture of him. AI is wonderful. So.
All right. Do we want to? We've still got some more questions here, but do you want to do the
to the last one?
Yeah, the last one.
Yeah.
So Sangropa.
People wanted a much bigger version of this. So this is what I want to know. What this is what's the name of this, and where does it come from?
Wait. The only people that can reply are on Twitch. Sangropa, Complex Alex, and Silver Smile. If you are on Twitch and that is not your name, please do not answer this, right? Because the winner of this will get our links. So yeah.
Yes.
If you're on YouTube, it sucks to be you. You guys let us down.
So again, you need to know what is the name of this and where does it come from. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, the green screen's on.
Hard. The green screen's on. Let me turn off my green screen real quick so I can.
It'll be my end. It'll be yep. So Paul's actually going to go all green. Hold on. This is not prepared for this. Well, that failed.
Oh, it's on my end. It's on my end. Hold on.
Yep. You'll need to turn yours off too then. Oh, geez. What the hell is that? What is it and where is it from?
Yeah, what is this and where is it from?
Oh, it's death and it's from hell. Yeah, cool. We got that one.
It's the Reaper.
See if I can get this right.
It's illusion. Yeah, this is very difficult.
Yep.
There we go.
It's from Warhammer.
It's very blurry. All 3 of them have said it's an illusion. It's lol blurry.
It should be able to see it now.
No one's answered it correctly. Someone said Age of Sigmar question mark.
That's correct.
All right.
But what's the unit name?
So that's where it's from. Now you just got to look at. Now you got to quickly Google. No chance on a phone. It's like Paul's trying to do different Iron Man poses.
Yeah, I can't. It's hard for me to do
Is it a wraith?
properly.
Nope.
It is a wraith, but it's a specific type of wraith.
Age of Sigmar Wraith.
I think we can give it to Alex. He's the one that said Age of Sigmar and Wraith. I think we can
There
give
we
it to him because no one else was even damn close. So I think we can give it to him. I'm going to I've turned the green screen back on, Paul. So,
Okay.
All right. So Complex,
It's
Alex, reach out to me and we'll get that links off to you. Just contact me on Discord, please, bro. Khan Wraith, you said?
It's Conwraith. It is a Conwraith.
There we go.
From the
Alex said that as well. So there you go.
Yeah, that's some really quick Googling there, Alex. Well done. Well done. All right then.
Yeah, he says I only play TW2. I think he's saying.
Total War 2. Warhammer 4, Total War 2.
I was in a Warhammer shop yesterday.
Yeah.
Or Wednesday or Tuesday.
Use the Google image search.
All right.
Yeah, he did.
Yep, he got the game right. He actually got the figure right as well.
So he did.
I figured I'd go. I realized the green screen might be a little bit of an issue. I thought it might have been better, but it's one of those that, like, if I pulled out a Space Marine, everyone knows what a Space Marine is.
Yep.
So I was like, let's go for something that's a little bit more obscure. So.
Yeah, I'd have probably pulled out a dead from, if I was doing that one and using a Wraith, I'd have pulled out one of the dead from Lord of the Rings. So,
yep.
Mm-hmm.
Is your stream set up ready to go for YouTube? Can I set a redirect now? Not we're ending now, but just getting ready for it now?
Yeah, if everything's set up, it's already ready to go. Like, you should already see it ready to go.
Yeah, just set. So the redirect's just so difficult for June monthly report. Nope. Upcoming?
Yes, that's that one.
Monthly report.
That's the one that's upcoming, the June monthly report.
So that's the next one.
Cool, that's set. So when we end, that'll come up.
We'll be going straight to
and when we get down to last 2 or 3 questions, you can nick off, Paul, and we'll I'll raise you as well on Twitch as well. Okay, next question. We're down to the last probably 12 or so questions. So yeah, go for it.
Rip My Space Planes has a question. What do you is the first capital class ship in players' hands? Isn't that very
Polaris?
Technically, it's the Reclaimer. Technically,
I think it could be the Reclaimer. It could also be the 890.
That is as well. What came first? The
actually...
Reclaimer technically came first, though, did it not?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes, it did. But I don't know if I don't know how much of that is.
I think in realistic, what his question is what's the next one we're going to get, and that would probably be
Polaris.
Is what Paul said. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
which is weird because, like, the Idris is done, the Javelin is done. Yep. Like, we know that the interiors are done with it. I mean, done. Like, I'm sure there's still stuff. There's stuff they're polishing for Squadron, but like they could put them in game as ships right now, but they wouldn't nearly function the way they want them to. So,
indeed.
All right. The next question is from Sangroper, who asks, do you think CIG can track the metrics of how many and often people are actually multi-crewing ships? Yes.
Yes. 100%.
Easy.
Absolutely. When they can tell how many people died from a fire extinguisher? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Remember, when they were doing Theatre of War, they were able to say, oh, yes, we even saw someone killed with a fire extinguisher. So they can go into that detail. So, yes, 100%.
O. Holton asks, do you think we will see the Sidness crab/spider miner in the PU, either as a player usable vehicle or just AI controlled?
I would love it to
I think CIG... Go ahead, Al.
I would love it to be a player-owned mining vehicle.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be player-owned, though. I think maybe player usable.
I think it might be... I think we might see AI-based. But I don't think we'll see
AI-based.
I think the biggest missed opportunity was that landminer by RSI. that should have been Cygnus. 100% would have been a great homage. But people have been asking for that landminer for the crab miner for years. It would have been a really great way to do something similar, but not exactly the same. But yeah,
was the Cygnus crab miner actually crewed, or was it just AI anyway?
It's both. It can be operated, but it's also remote.
Yeah, it's
I can just remember the images of it massive with a little human underneath it. You know that.
Yeah, it has a little cab. If you look at it, it has got a little cab you can climb into to operate it. But I think it's remotely controlled as well.
It is also a space locked miner because the bag
it wouldn't work on a planet.
Yeah, the bag on it expands and it wouldn't work on a planet because that bag will be tons and tons of weight, and as soon as you put it in gravity, snap broken.
Yeah, it'll turtle,
kill itself. Yeah.
Doc Frost asks, will we get another CNOU ship excluding the Pioneer?
Yeah, it's called the Nomad.
Yes, we expect it. Look, I expect it to be more. They'll do more.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it just requires more maturing of that. The what do you call it? The not the pipeline. The art assets around CNO. You know, we've only the style guide. We've only got the Nomad, and you know we've obviously got some style from the Pioneer, but we kind of need something Constellation style to get that flowing properly.
And with only the Mustang, the Nomad, and the Pioneer, there's a dearth. So I think we'll see some more smaller ships or medium-sized ships from that company, so they can actually develop that style guide, and then we'll see bigger ships.
We don't have enough interiors, do we?
No.
You know, we've got a bit in the Beta and a bit in the Nomad, but that's all we've got. But it's definitely an interesting style, and I think it will be a popular series of ships once we get, as I said, once you get something. I said Constellation style before, I meant to say Constellation sized. Something that's in that medium to large range that they can go up and down to. Kind of like you can kind of see what they did with the Hull series. They originally did the C. The A ended up coming out first, but they wanted to do the C. And you can imagine they'll most likely do the E before the D, because then they can go, you know, C and E into the D.
Talking C, D, and E, I did have a thought that I could see them doing the concertinaing effect on the Endeavour going forward.
Yeah, you and I did talk about that.
That's something I could see. Will they do it? Don't know, but to me it makes sense.
It would make a lot of sense doing all that effort to get that tech to work. Why wouldn't they try and use it again and utilize it again in another ship? Paul, what's your thoughts on that? I know you're looking off to one side. That's how I know you're not paying attention. That's what you do to the teacher does to the kids in class, Paul, when they're not paying attention.
What was the question again specifically?
That's proof he wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, exactly.
I said you still need to get set up.
Oh, sorry. The tech for the whole series, you know, the concertining, the spindle and all that. Do you see them deliberately designing another ship to take advantage of that, since they've spent all that time making it?
Or using it in the Endeavour?
I mean, maybe. Like, I don't. It's hard to tell because I don't know how well they could adapt it, because it's designed specifically for the whole series. I think they could use some of the tech to create stuff similar to it, but I don't think we'll see it.
Do you remember the docking, the capital docking collars?
Yeah.
I think that uses the same tech. Quite honestly,
I'm sure it does.
Yeah. So I think we'll see it in other ships, especially the expanding stuff. But like the actual folding out arms, I don't think you might see a ship that does both of those. But like I think you might see a ship that has the transformation stuff, or something that has the spindle. But I don't think you'll see both again, because that's obviously.
I think that the concertinaing we'll see, but I don't necessarily think we'll see concertinaing and spindles coming up. But
just too complicated. Yeah.
But I could see that concertinaing being linked to the Endeavour, just because it's the same company, same thing, and it's a massive ship. So.
All right, JC Kaboom says, do you talk about the Vulcan implementation of last PTU test? No, we did not. Was that in leaks, or where was that come from? I didn't hear about that.
It might have been the 200 player.
That one. Yeah.
Ducati, probably. Well, I mean, yeah, Vulcan is being implemented already. We've done that from monthly reports. So parts of it are.
And that's why you read monthly reports, because you've learned that stuff.
I also think it might even be the start of static meshing as well. That's on the cards for this year as well, but I don't know how far we are away from that.
I did hear about that being part of their thought process of what they were thinking was going on with the 200 servers, but don't know.
Yeah, we'll find out in the interest of time, I'm sure. I probably would expect an ISC on it if they were going to do that type of stuff at some point too. JC Kaboom says, question at Astropub, is the Aegis Reclaimer used by the UEE as a military ship? And then he says UEES.
S. We don't know. Because they haven't said a lot about it, but it's implied that it is.
It's to clean up after their own mess after they have a big battle, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's the reason why it's so heavily armed, would be my guess, but we just don't know a lot about the Reclaimer.
Yep.
So.
Okay. Spray one. What numbers would be assigned to their miner?
What?
Yeah. So this is a great example. We get yeah. Oh, there we go. Origins. He says origins. What number would be assigned to their miner? Origins miner. I don't know what he means.
No, they don't necessarily need that numbers.
100, the 200.
They also have the X1 and the what was the other one? The M50, and then there's the one that's with the
Origin is the Origin will never have a miner.
The 85X.
The Origin will
the 85. Yep.
Origin
85X. Yeah.
Origin would never have a miner though. It's not in their wheelhouse. They're not an industrial manufacturer at all. They're a high-end luxury brand. It's like going, I want to have a Ferrari dump truck. Not going to happen. Well, maybe it would, but you get what I mean.
Well, there is a Ferrari tractor.
But there's not a dump truck. There's a garbage truck. No. Do you honestly see Ferrari making a garbage truck? I don't think so.
Would you have thought of
an excavator, a Ferrari excavator?
Yeah.
You know,
there is a Lamborghini tractor though. I know that's the thing. Yep. Jeremy Clarkson's got one. So yeah. All right. More of a comment than a question. This is by Chief God Brox, who says just use some old CCUs and these new ones to get a vouch for an MSRP of 180, like 40 plus additional items. Holy shit, that's pretty good. 180 is not too bad actually. That's what's $100 off. Or in there.
That's a nice humble brag.
Yep.
Yeah, plus 40 plus items.
Yep.
That's what you're doing with CCUs. You're using war bond CCUs to help you bring the cost down, and it's
extreme couponing.
Yep.
That's right. It's couponing. That's what you're doing. And you can apply them at any time. You could actually hold on to those and maybe get another $10, $20, $30 off.
Wait, that's more than $100 off. That's almost $200 off. I just realized because it's $375. Wow, that's actually quite. Let me get it in the old calculator. It's like $195, I think. 375 minus.
And you've used old CCUs as well, and that's the advantage of doing CCUs over time.
$195. Awesome. That's half price essentially, almost, not quite, but almost.
Yep. So anytime you can do that. Did you apply for CCU time? Yeah, probably. Could you get more if you held on them? Could you get some more discount? Possibly.
Right, Paul. We're down to the last 5 questions. Did you want to make a move?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to set up because I have to get some food in me too. Yep. So while we're doing this.
So are you going to be on? So are you going to be on Twitch in 5 minutes, or?
Yes, I'll be on Twitch in 5 minutes. So 5-10 minutes.
All right, so
in 5 minutes we will raid Twitch.
Fade to black. Woo! See you later, Paul. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for taking over while I'm not going to be here. Appreciate it. I'll see you shortly. All right, Paul's gone. Right.
He is.
Next question. I've got to let you take the next one.
Aeon says, if you had to redesign the Concierge perks, what would you do?
I had to redesign the Concierge perks.
I'd make them more balanced.
Yeah, there's 2 schools of thoughts. Like they talked about making different tiers, but I'm not a fan of elitism. I don't.
Yep.
Yeah, like I kind of like it where it is. Like, yeah, $1,000, cool. You did a good job, but do you really want to be encouraging someone to go to 10,000? You know, and I think there's a certain level of responsibility, and I think people should be aware of that. And you know, $1,000 is a lot to spend on a video game. Let's be honest. You know, so
it is.
I don't know. Algared, you're probably better to answer this than me. So yeah.
Yeah, look, should anyone spend more than $1,000 on a video game? No. If you have, you're insane like me. But there is an element where CI and the concierge rewards are really CIG saying thank you for being so crazy in your support. Would it be nice to see a more balanced leveling of that thank you? Like, you look at the first few and it's like, you get a top hat, and then the next one, you've got, so it'd be nice to see a bit more development of those, so they're a bit more balanced. And,
I think they probably could be a bit more upmarket. So like a skin, like the Electro Hull skin.
Yep.
I'd like a skin like that works for all of them.
Even a special skin that was, but indicated, yes, that was that's a bit like the alpha skins you could get on War Thunder. Do
you remember how we talked about KOTOR as well? So you can still get them all in game, which is what happened with KOTOR Collector's Edition is what I'm referring to there. So they had a thing where you got access to this special area where you could buy some stuff from the vendor, and basically if you had the Collector's Edition, it just waived the $1,000 credit limit. You didn't have to pay, you just got in straight away. So that's essentially what Concierge could be, is like the Concierge Club. Eventually, I'd expect anyone in game can get into that, but you've got to go through a rep grind or a quest chain or whatever it is and get into that. It's just that the people that are in it now, they don't have to do that. Same thing with the Mile High Club. So nothing should be off limits in my book. It's just that you get a forward in progression. Same thing with even the the F-18 gold skin. What is it? F8 Lightning gold skin. Same thing with that, but it could be right at the end of the damn chain. Might take you 2 years to get to. I don't know, but it's where they set the goalposts.
Probably the biggest difference, you mentioned Millimore High Club, probably the biggest difference with that is, at least when they initially were talking about it, it was a facility that was owned by the people who owned it, but it was one that could be modified by that person to be that ability to have them uniquely set up or look is probably something different. But will everyone be able to have a facility like that? Absolutely. But there might be little things that are slightly different, but everyone will be able to have that type of venue. I think in the long run.
Silver Smile is saying, I've heard of a $95 carrot, but I think the $150 Polaris is now the best I've heard. Work out the percentage. Work it out as a percentage, Silver Smile, and you're going to beat 17%. That is the number to beat. But yeah, I guess technically, you can go for Referral Gladius for a Polaris, so there's no reason you can't add that into that as well. But as I said, the percentage to beat is 17%. So it's 17% of the total cost. So if you're doing the math there, it'd be the opposite of that. Sangropus would be 20%. So the Carrack still wins by 3%.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
Holton says, what are your favourite systems, planets? Mine is Angeli. I'd have to go back and have a look.
Paul is Magnus, I can tell you that, because he's told me that before. That's where Drake is and kind of fits in with his smuggling thing. I like lots of different systems for different reasons. I have not decided where I'm going to play the game yet, and I think that's one of those things, like, as time goes by, it's a tough one. Yeah, so you get more and more details.
I've looked at Valor on some of the planets in the past, usually when I'm looking at companies, and there are a couple of it I like. But there's just so many I've forgotten. I'm not gonna try and BS you. I just can't remember.
Yeah, there is so many cool little planets. Like, there are complete water planets. There's just water alone, right? You've got the complete water planets. You've got planets that have giant waves, like in Interstellar. One of the ones that really appeals to me is that Magna planet that has the giant pipe cities. Everything's going to be really different, and that's the cool thing about the game. I don't think you're going to be spoiled for choice. I think you are going to be spoiled for choice, and I think as soon as you get bored with something, you'll just move to another area. I think that's going to be a part of the game. You'll have oversweeping reputation that you maintain, but your local reputation will ebb and flow.
I always got the impression that Chris's idea was you'd set up in one base or one system, and you'd play most of the game in that system, and then when you got bored, you'd move to when you needed to or wanted to, you'd move to a different system and do the same thing. And that ties in with stuff that I think Sandy said when we had her on, where she said she wanted to be, she was an explorer because she didn't want to be tied down.
Yep.
That was part of her reasoning for being pirate, because she didn't want to be locked into one system. And I think that goes back to that idea of you stay in a system and you live and work and
Real quick while I'm thinking of it, I did do a poll real quick a couple of weeks ago on the community tab about when I'm up there with Algared at his place on the weekend about doing a live stream. My only concern is I only have my phone, and as Algared's internet connection is terrible, we would have to either stream on Algared or mine's phone, or we would have to go to somewhere else. So we may try and do one, but it may only be very brief, like 30 minutes or something like that. So we'll look into it, and if it works, we'll do it. If not, that won't happen.
And if we're playing Witcher, it might be not the best.
Well, the other thing at the very least is we'll do a video. We'll record a video on one of the phones, and you can upload that while I'm away at the very least.
We'll do something.
Yeah, get Daily Noob to film it for us. So yeah, we'll see.
We'll do something, and we'll at least, if we do whatever we do, we'll at least put it on our Patreon. So there you go.
I've had a few people ask me too, because I'm taking my camera with me to record my adventures while I'm away. So I might even do a little, I don't know, either a Patreon video or, I don't know, might just put it up in the community tab or something like that. Just like an edited version of my trip away for the month. We'll see what happens. Might be boring as batshit. I've got no idea. We'll see what happens with that. So yeah. All right, we've got 2 questions to go, Algared, and then we can go ready.
Okay.
So yeah.
Rip my spaceship planes. What do you think about the MPU designed to carry small ground vehicles like the Cyclone series of vehicles?
That'd be sick.
No.
Absolutely.
MPUV
probably works because it's got a tractor beam thing on it anyway to pick up the recover the pods. Yeah, so you could probably do the same thing and just make it a tractor beam to pick up vehicles. Yep.
Yeah, I just wonder whether it'd be too small, but in terms of size, to have a container for those small vehicles. But
no, it wouldn't be a container. It'd just be literally like a sky crane. Just pick it straight up.
Yeah, well, either way. But yep. If I do, like I said at the beginning, MPUV needs a lot. It's a multi-purpose utility vehicle. We don't have multi-purposes for the utility vehicle yet. The only multi-purpose I hope I don't do is combat.
Yeah.
That's just me. Doc Frost 42 question: could we steal Grim Hex with capital-sized tractor beams? Why would you want to?
With the way it is implemented in game right now, no, you couldn't, because it's a static mesh. They would have to do quite a bit of rework. And why would you want to? Because what would end up happening is the asteroids would just clash and make a mess. If you think of it from a kind of realism game standpoint, I would far prefer the ability to destroy Grim Hex. So like shoot it and have the asteroids kind of crack open and stuff like that. That would be kind of cool, because then the pirates would have to cover themselves and stuff like that.
There's no reason to drag Grim Hex away.
And that would kind of go hand in hand with the asteroid tech for the Orion and stuff like that. So you could implement something akin to that way down the line. Way down the line.
Just to give a bit of history context, Grim Hex is Green Imperial Housing, basically a Green Imperial Housing Exchange. That's what it is. It was a place where the workers of a mining corporation worked and lived.
Yeah.
Grim Hex is a mined out asteroid area. That's why it's abandoned. So why would you want to drag it away? There's nothing of value there. Like, that's why it's there. The company left it because there was nothing of value there. Yeah. It was cheaper for them to leave rather than tear it down. So, yeah, why would you?
Yeah, that's it. All right, with that then, we're going to do a raid on, see if Paul's there. Raid is being created, cool. So you guys on Twitch, you'll be heading off to join Paul, as will everyone on YouTube shortly as well. The first recorded episode will go out this weekend as well. So there's a whole bunch of pre-recorded stuff to do while I'm away. And we've tried to make them as evergreen as possible. There's a couple of
Fix my fleets.
There's a couple of command and controls. There's a couple of well, actually, I just did the one with Space Tomato. I think there's another one with Space Tomato. I've done ones with Paul. So I've tried to get as many Inforunners as possible, so they're all in there. All right, then. Say hello to Paul for us. Ask him for feet pics. Yep. All right. Bye. Catch you on Twitch.
Yeah. Take care, Twitch. Thank you.
Twitch is gone. You guys on YouTube, thank you. Like, subscribe, ring that notification bell.
Yeah, all of that stuff.
Yeah, and thank you though. We've been getting a lot more subscribers lately. We really appreciate you guys helping us out, and those likes really do help us out as well. So
it is right. We were surprised. When we were looking at the analytics and just seeing how much those subscribers have actually had an impact on that, and it was interesting. It was surprisingly helpful to get those subscriptions. So please hit those subscriptions, get them in, because it helps big time.
With that, I'll be on a beach for a month. Other than that, I'll see you guys all in a month. Take care.
So,
He's been Algared.
He's been Execute, and we're out of here.
Catch you next one. See you in a month. Bye.
Bye, jumper.